And so I have a meeting on Thursday with the Chief Justice, the Attorney General, and others to find a final solution to this Auditor General's report, that persons who are found guilty of infractions or do not follow due procedure or lead to loss of public resources, we must have a fast-track process to Nsawam. Fast-track, before you see you in Nsawam, 6 months. Until we do that, until there's a deterrent, we're going to come every year and they say total misappropriation and infractions of found out by the Auditor General is about 15 billion cedis. I mean, if we save 15 billion cedis, can you imagine what it could do?
Well, the president says fast track in Sawam Street. When you are found to be guilty, or as it were, not being able to account for the public resources that were entrusted in your hands as a public officer. Because continuously on a yearly basis, we've seen lamentations and condemnation, everything that goes around with this Public Accounts Committee sittings. We see them on TV. The members of Public Accounts Committee, they are livid, they're upset, they vent their spleen on TV and on the officers of the various public institutions that appear before them. But beyond that, we don't hear much about prosecutions or even some appreciable level of recoveries. So is the president's proposal one to consider? That meeting he talked about was to take place on Thursday. It's been postponed to the 20th, which is just, some few days away. It is worth having that conversation in the interest of accountability. So this morning, we would have a conversation here on the key point, on the president's proposal in dealing with the infractions within the Auditor General's report over the years, aimed at recovery. Because he's been focused and fixated on recovering all loot. What is the state of affairs of oral as we speak, beyond what the president is talking about now? After this, we'll deal with illegal mining. In fact, this week, NIMOS, that anti-Galamsey task force commissioned by the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources with allied agency support, have been at work, doing quite some work this week. But there are still major concerns about the state of our water bodies and how, in fact, it is impacting on the access to potable water in some parts of the country. The Chebi Water Works is still shut as a result of the impact of Galamsey, the turbidity of the waters. Birim River is polluted. The Kwenyako Headworks is also being shut. Tens of thousands of residents who depend on potable water treated from that headworks have been denied. The TUC joined the many who are raising concerns about illegal mining. They've warned that Ghana could face a nationwide water shortage if this situation of Galamsey is not dealt with, or if government fails to take firm action against illegal mining. Now, the warning came during, there's a fact-finding mission that the TUC took to the Kwenyako Headworks in the Central Region and the Enum Apapem community in the Ayeswano district of the Eastern Region. It's not looking good. We look at this, juxtaposed with what the NIMOS is doing and what has to be done to effectively send that clear message and the signal that indeed the fight against Galamsey is one that has total political will. Some question that. We'll have a conversation this morning here on Key Point. On Poll Tracker this morning, we deal with cocoa prices and matters arising. In fact, a little over a week ago, the minister in charge of finance announced a new producer price of cocoa giving additional 400 cities to what he announced a couple of months ago. But earlier this week, Côte d'Ivoire announced their producer price for cocoa. And it is just a little higher than ours. We've seen it over the years that cocoa farmers in this country are enticed, some are enticed to, as it were, sell cocoa to buyers from Côte d'Ivoire for more money. The government says, well, beyond this FOB price, we've given other incentives that should discourage any form of smuggling by cocoa farmers in Ghana. Is there a case in there? It's one that we would have a conversation on the poll tracker. So stay with us. We have a cocoa farmer joining us, a number of people who will speak to this matter. My guests started trickling in. They'll take their seats shortly. We'll have the conversation start right after this quick break. My name is Alfred Ocansey. Welcome to The Key Point. As always, you're an integral part of the conversation. There are many ways you can join us. We're live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279 all across the world on 3news.com. Also on the Voice of London radio in the heart of the city of London, the Voice of London television as well. Stay with us. We're back shortly after this quick break.
From the Takoradi Market Circle. From the heart of the upper. Reporting from the Takoradi Market Circle. From the heart of the Upper West Regional Capital.
From the heart of the Ashanti Kingdom.
Reporting from Sunyani.
From the Central Business District of Navrongo.
The parliamentarians are on recess.
This is where it all unfolds. The moments that potentially alters the course of our nation and the world. These are the individuals we recognize, the voices we amplify, who appears on screen and who contributes behind the scenes. With professionalism at our core, we bring you news you can trust, impact journalism that makes a difference. This illustrates how diverse perspectives enhance our strength and reinforces our mission. This is 3 News. Leaders in breaking news, exclusive interviews, facts and analysis on TV, radio, online and digital. 3 News, first in news.
Saturday. Neil Cutter.
Hey!
Make a date.
Just as Tonight now shows on Saturdays at 8 p.m. on TV3. October is more than just peace.
Reporting from the Takoradi Market Circle. From the heart of the Upper West Regional Capital.
To the next level, not just talking, but acting. From telecasting survivor stories that inspire hope to the Pink Kitchen, serving recipes of hope. Every day, we'll remind you to check, to care, to live, because early detection saves lives. Together, we celebrate survivors, we honor resilience, we inspire hope. This October, let's act against breast cancer. Join the fight on hashtag #CheckItWinIt. Together we fight, together we win.
The Ashanti Kingdom.
Reporting from Sunyani.
From the Central Business District of Navrongo.
The parliamentarians are on recess.
This is where it all unfolds. The moments that potentially alters the course of our nation and the world. These are the individuals we recognize, the voices we amplify, who appears on screen and who contributes behind the scenes. With professionalism at our core, we bring you news you can trust, impact journalism that makes a difference. This illustrates how diverse perspectives enhance our strength and reinforces our mission. This is 3 News. Leaders in breaking news, exclusive interviews, facts and analysis on TV, radio, online and digital. 3 News, first in news.
On the basis of the changes that we have affected to the forecast, the government has taken a decision to increase the producer price of cocoa to 3,625 Ghana cedis per bag, or 58,000 Ghana cedis per ton. This simply means that per every bag purchase, the cocoa farmer is getting 400 Ghana cedis additional. Simply put, to the ordinary cocoa farmer. Since my last engagement on the 4th of August to today, every bag you will purchase, you will sell to Cocoa Board, you'll be getting another 400 Ghana cedis, or 4 million Ghana cedis, old Ghana cedis. Ghana Cocoa Board will continue to implement all the interventions to support the cocoa production and the welfare of the cocoa farmer. In particular, Cocoa Board will intensify the supply of free cocoa fertilizers, both liquid and granular, free insecticides, free spraying machines, and free fungicides, and free flower inducers to the cocoa farmer. In addition, Cocoa Board is on track to implement the new tertiary education scholarship scheme for children of cocoa farmers in the 2026-2027 academic year.
This was the finance minister giving this update just a little over about a week ago about this update of the increase in the producer price for cocoa farmers. 400 cedis extra, more than what was announced 2 months ago. Over the last 1 week, there's been conversation about whether or not this new producer price of cocoa is a fair reflection of the current state of affairs, even on the world market. That's the conversation this morning. But welcome to Poll Tracker. If you're new to this is a segment on the show where we deal with, it's a data-driven conversation that borders on politics, economy, social matters, environmental issues. We'll give you verifiable data that you can look at yourself wherever you are and follow every step of the way. Earlier this week, we saw Côte d'Ivoire also announced their producer price for cocoa. And it's always the case that we keep looking there, one, for a number of reasons. One, the fact that we have, over the years, cocoa farmers have reason to, as it were, some of them want to sell cocoa beans to buyers from Côte d'Ivoire for higher price. We're going to show you whether there is enough basis for that, or it is just a black market operation that tends to accommodate these cocoa farmers who sell their cocoa to Côte d'Ivoire. And this is it. Stay with us and follow us closely. This is how the current state of affairs looks like. And we're going to put that on the screen right now. The FOB price, or the producer price for cocoa in Côte d'Ivoire, is 4,040 cedis. In the cedi equivalent, 4,040. As against what was announced, you heard the finance minister announce 3,625, even though this is 400 cedis more than what was announced 2 months ago. This is how much Ghana is paying for in terms of the current FOB price per kg, 65 kg. Then the difference between Ghana and Côte d'Ivoire in terms of the price of a 65 kg bag of cocoa beans is 415 Ghana cedis, 415. That is Côte d'Ivoire giving farmers a little more than what we're giving, 415 Ghana cedis. But is that enough incentive for smuggling? And here's where government then comes up with their defense. Their position on the matter, government's position on the matter is, you know what, even though Côte d'Ivoire is giving more, 415, there's more in terms of incentive that we're giving to Ghanaian farmers. So that should knock off any interest in terms of smuggling. And this is it. Over the years, what we did was to track in terms of the producer price for Côte d'Ivoire and Ghana over the years. And what we have seen is that, contrary to the popular claim that over the years Ghana has been giving lesser in terms of producer price to cocoa farmers. In fact, it's always been a little higher, except for this 2025-2026 crop season. Because government then took more burden in terms of the incentives that they're giving to cocoa farmers. So from 2020 to 2021 crop season, in terms of the dollar terms, and we converted it to dollars because of the currency differentials. We don't use the same currency as Cote d'Ivoire, so they want to peg it as on the city. And because the city fluctuates, we just wanted to use this dollar to give at least some stable denomination in terms of our analysis. $1.84 is what we're paying for between 2020 and 2021 crop season, just a little above what Cote d'Ivoire was giving at the time. If you look at the bar graph as we see on the screen, the black bar represents what Ghana was paying per kilogram to cocoa farmers all through to 2025-2026 crop season, as we are seeing now. This is what government is saying, that yes, even though now Cote d'Ivoire is paying just 400 cedis more for kilogram of cocoa beans for this 2025-2026 crop season. In terms of the subsidies and interventions we are giving to Ghanaian cocoa farmers, there is enough a case to be made. One, that inputs, government says giving free seedlings and fertilizer aid to cocoa farmers in Ghana for free. Also, extension services and rehabilitation and extension services you're also getting for free. If you look at Cote d'Ivoire, they are giving subsidized inputs via their cooperatives. There's the cocoa cooperatives in the country, as against what Ghana is giving for free. So yes, the farmers in Cote d'Ivoire pay something, maybe a subsidized price for the same seedlings and fertilizer that government is giving for free. Plus the training that government is also giving in terms of extension services. The farmers in Cote d'Ivoire also get a similar intervention. Government subsidy of 1,114 Ghana cedis per bag. What Cote d'Ivoire does is cash bonuses and buyer premiums. There's a clear difference. In terms of sustainability, replanting, forest protection, government says they're doing that. Plus, what is happening in Cote d'Ivoire is agroforestry and child labor checks. You know, there's been instances of reports of child labor on our cocoa farms that has been contested by some organizations in this country. But this is how the picture looks like over there and how things are playing out. And in terms of payments as well, in this country, we do not leverage so much on the digital payments to cocoa farmers. And that's what you hear the current CEO of Cocoa Board, Dr. Andy Abe, consistently talk about this particular process and how that would also be a major part of the rollout of this new initiative in the face of Cocoa Board. This is it. So is there enough incentive, as it were, for cocoa farmers in Ghana to smuggle cocoa, really? Taking into consideration all of this, these interventions. We have the president of the Association of Cocoa Farmers in this country. He's a cocoa farmer himself, large plantation. He knows what happens on the ground. So he's going to be telling us how the picture really looks like with this and what is happening on the ground. We would have engineer Dr. Kenan Shigbe is joining us. In fact, this dovetails into the matter of Galamsey, because one of the major threats to cocoa farmers in this country is the impact of illegal mining. So we'll talk about that. There's a nexus between what we're talking about now with the cocoa pricing and Galamsey. But Mr. Stevenson Boateng is joining us on the telephone right now. He's the president of one of the largest association of cocoa farmers in this country. And Alfred Apia is a data analyst. He's joining us on Zoom. Engineer Dr. Kenan Shigbe is joining us right now in the studio. Also, we have Martin Pebo joining us right now, and Phyllis Kwachio-Fosu is taking his seat. He is the minister in charge of government communications. Abrasebo Kwamankese, member of parliament. We will talk about this. Mr. Boateng, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Now, with the latest announcement by the finance minister and a little over 400 cedis difference between the producer price that Cote d'Ivoire has announced as against what government of Ghana is giving you, 415, taking into consideration all the other subsidies and interventions, is it enough to deal with or discourage your members from smuggling cocoa to Cote d'Ivoire?
Good morning once again, and my regards to the public, the listeners, and especially my colleagues, cocoa farmers. Actually, with respect to the price increase, we've already written to appreciate the government of the decision of increasing the cocoa from the previous price, adding 400 Ghana cedis to it. We are much appreciative to that. This compares with government of basing his pass on the PNDC law or the constitutional mandatory. Actually, when he was coming, he promised he will be basing all his works on the constitution, and this has been the true fact. And in fact, when he increased the first pricing, that was August, we saw that he did. Based the fact on the constitutional fact, which was the FOB price of 70%. But people were thinking the price was low, but the price he based it on the 70%. But looking at it, it looks like he based the price based on the exchange rate. I remember that time the rate was 10 cedis, 25 pesos to a dollar. And when the price came out, we also wrote to the public, to the government, that he should make price adjustment structure to govern the price increase. Hello? Hello, do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Oh, okay. So what I'm saying is, when he based the price on the foreign exchange rate, and that time the exchange rate was 10 cedis to 10 cedis, 25 cedis to a dollar.
Mm-hmm.
And along the line, we wrote a letter to the government and expressing our concern with respect to the fact that it will not interfere our business. So we propose that it should make a price adjustment structure such that it will not interfere our price when the prices are increasing and then our money is depreciating. And we truly speaking, we saw that this current price increase has actually come to confirm the decision or the letter we wrote to the government, and then also his decision on the fact that he is listening to we cocoa farmers. So, and when it comes to the price increase, we are okay with it. We've written to appreciate it. It seems yesterday or about 2 days ago, we raised the price, press release with respect to the appreciation of the price increase. So, the price increase issue, this is what I can see. Thank you.
So you're okay with it? And
very, very okay. Me, when I'm talking, I don't talk on my own version. When the price came out, the executive stepped down and we discussed. And then after then, we inform almost every member of the association for them to understand. And they were all appreciated. When somebody does something better, we need The person needs appreciation. We must do it. That is why we wrote, we made a press release with respect to that. So we are much, much appreciated to it.
You appreciate it. You've written to appreciate government on that. But is it enough Is it enough to discourage your members from smuggling cocoa to Côte
No,
d'Ivoire?
that is not that. You see, I being the president, to a extent, I never disclose any message when they are not aware. We always sit down with the scarce. When the price came out, as I've said earlier on, we normally sit down with executives with discuss issues, and then from there, we make the members aware of the decision we're taking. So I don't speak from my mind. I normally, base my facts on their acceptance.
I see. Earlier, you raised concerns about the new producer price being quoted in cedis, because previously we've seen it being quoted in dollars. And that's why you talk about if it was in cedis, then you would have gained more, because at the time the cedi was, for this same producer price, if the cedi was 16 cedis to the dollar, you were going to be making somewhere around 5,160 as against the 3,625 that you are making now. That was your issue. But the cedi is strong now.
Yes. The price increase came when the currency rate was 10 cedi, 25 cedi to a dollar. And we all along thought that cocoa normally they increase it annually, and that became one of our concerns. That is why we reiterated, but we wrote to remind the governor that they will also take into consideration the price increase in case the world market price increases or the currency fluctuation goes up. They know how to go about. So, in fact, what shows to us or proves to us is virtually confirmed that the government is doing its part with respect to the listening to the cocoa farmers on our issue and challenges as well.
Well, thank you. And kindly stay with me. We have Alfred Ocansey, a data scientist and also a public policy analyst, joining us on Zoom as well. Alfred, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Alfred. I hope you can hear me.
I can hear you clearly. Engineer Dr. Ken Ashigbe is the convener of the Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey. He is the CEO of the Chamber of Mines, but he's in the capacity of the convener this morning for the Coalition Against Galamsey in this country. Engineer Dr. Ken Ashigbe, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
And I know you're bereaved. Our condolences to you. You even had the strength to join us this morning after that tragic loss last night.
Yes, well, thank you very much. It's a duty, and I'm sure my father would want me to do this in his honor. So, he's one of my remaining fathers who is gone, and we pray that his soul rest in perfect peace.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you very much. Before I go to Alfred, just a quick one on this. Now, you've had the president of one of the largest cocoa association, the Farmers Association in this country, say, look, this price is good for them. They've written to congratulate government. But then again, their concern was with why it was quoted in cedis this time around. Yes, he's going to do his best to deal with his members, not to smuggle cocoa. But the black market still exists.
Well, thank you very much. Cocoa has been one of our major stays as a country, and whatever it is that we need to do to ensure that the farmer gets a good return for their effort is really, really very critical. Mm-hmm. For me, I think as a people, the time has really come for us to look into, this whole arrangement where we have a cocoa board and, doing intermediation, because we need to find ways in which we will focus on what would give the farmer, always the best return, and also ensure that we can have a sustainable production so far as our cocoa is concerned. And so I'm happy that the farmers are happy. What we all need to do as a people as well is the whole issue of patriotism, we need to find a way of moving it a notch higher. This whole issues around the smuggling and it just shortchanges even the farmers. It is the criminal element who sits in the middle. So you won't find, it's not the farmers who do it. It's the cartels who are involved in this, who work together with those at the ports and all of that together done. And we need to start speaking to the hearts and souls of our people and making sure that the farmer himself, gets a better, piece of the pie. You look at the situations where do you find cocoa clinics? They are not, in where the farmers are. So those are the things that we always need to be doing. Let's make sure we're taking care of the farmers. Let's make sure that the farmers continue to produce. But Alfred, as you rightly said, at the heart of all of this is also the impact of what Galamsey is doing to our cocoa trees.
That's going to be the next phase of our conversation.
Right. So I think that we all need to see how we can support this. It is more sustainable. It's if you go into some of these communities and you see a lot of the big buildings in some of these communities, a lot of them have come from cocoa. And so how do we ensure that we incentivize the farmers? How do we also ensure that we attract a lot of the young folks to also get into agriculture, make it sexy, make sure that we're using technology in all of that. And again, we've been doing this for a very long time. We need to get to a point where, we stop exporting our beans out and, do a lot more value addition so that in the whole supply chain, as a people, we get to benefit out of it. You go to places, I think it's Germany or so, you go, or it's Switzerland, they have a huge, cocoa museum. When you go to Mampong, we have something small there. What can we do as a country, again, to make sure that we extract more value rather than, the Switzerlands and co who have not planted, an acre of cocoa, but extract the maximum value out of it, and we just play, in the margins. Those are the conversations that we need to do all together as a country to see how do we push this subsector of our economy forward.
And it's even concerning when you think about the state of affairs of cocoa processing companies, CPC. It's unthinkable why it still has to be making losses over the years, and when we are one of the largest producers of cocoa.
Not just the largest producers, in terms of the quality of the beans we produce, so CPC's cocoa, chocolates and products should be the optimum that we get. And so why do you, and there are a lot of local Ghanaian factories that are producing that are very profitable. So what is it that we do? I am still a firm believer that the state has a role to play in business. And because of the team that worked at Graphic, when we worked at Graphic, it was a state-owned, but you go in there, the workers work, they realize the fact that their fortunes are tied with what they do. So they run that business, as their own. And it's the same thing we need to bring to CPC. It should be run well. We need to be, looking at it and say, who is the best person to be able to run this entity? Put the right corporate governance, processes in place, and so that it ought to definitely be able to deliver a profit rather than what it is that we see.
Unfortunate. And we see that with a number of our natural resources. Gold, even where you are. I mean, we can't boast of a refinery here that will add mad value. We've seen some private sector interventions here and there. But then again, there's a talk of a bigger approach to that value addition
Well, I think
of our natural resources, and cocoa
is one of them. But I think on the gold front, I think we need to also make the point that this current government seems to be focused on that. So you see that the approach of Gold Board, for example, is pushing to make sure that our refineries work. There's a push to make sure that our refineries are LBA certified, and even for us, the large-scale mines, we are also trying to see how we can work together with the Gold Board to make sure that this can happen. And our hope is also, again, so that's the reason why some of us, when we make the arguments to government in terms of the revision of the laws, the development agreement, for example, we don't need to take it out. You know, if you want to get an integrated, say, iron ore, for example, the level of investment that will be required to be able to do that, you definitely will need to get a development agreement for that. If, like for lithium, for example, we want to make sure that we can, you know, make sure we add value to the lithium that we're going to mine. You know, bauxite, again, we've been mining bauxite, mining manganese, for example. In the situation of manganese, the firm that is mining it currently has plants, and I'm sure they're working with government to make sure that we can bring that into fruition where they do value addition to the ore that we produce. And, you know, so these are things that all of us need to support. Is the value chain of the entire natural resources. Let's make sure that we move away from just, you know, dig and ship to the point where we can add value to it and be able to produce something out of it and employ our people. Because every time we do the dig and ship or plant and ship, what it is that we're transferring jobs to other places, and then we are poorer for it.
And that's the big problem, is it not, Alfred? That's a big issue, and what we're dealing with right now, because of how things are looking like the true picture of the cocoa situation. And we have CPC sitting. In fact, their workers had not been paid for months, so many months. And you think about it, it's heartbreaking. But then Martin Pebo is private legal practitioner. He's joining us in the studio. Counsel, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Ocansey. Hey, the new guy, where is it? Obake. But he said we should strike the O.
No, Obake.
Yeah, so it's Obake to all of us, viewers and listeners, right? And then let's do the normal ritual. But today, let me start on a different note to ask the men above 40. I hope they are checking for prostate cancer, right? Yeah, do the test. You know, what shocked me was that all this time, until about 2 months ago, I didn't know that it starts with a blood test. I thought, you know, they had to do the rectal examination, the one we commonly say the doctor has to pass his hands through your anal cavity. So it was, I mean, off-putting. I didn't want to do the test at all. That's why I say, so it means that there isn't much education. So that's just what the typical, can you imagine at my age, and coming here all this year, I didn't know. No, it starts with a blood test.
PSA, simple PSA.
So they draw your blood, and then they recommend that, the doctors recommend that the test be done in two labs, two different labs, so that they can compare. And then, if you are fine, you are fine. So it's only when there's a problem that now they have to go and do the rectal examination. So please, if you also thought like me that straight away a doctor will be passing his hands through your anal cavity, please, that's not it. That's not it. Go for the test. Yeah,
important.
It's very, very important because I was shocked. There was one case where somebody very, very well respected in society, high up there, he sat down and Charlie, it was sad. Yeah, it's beyond redemption. Okay.
Thank you for this.
Yes. And as usual, I want to greet Sofa Ekufu Yasantua. We need more of our citizens to speak up. Yes, you see, this comments, when we say we allow the Yasantua, Doma, Hine, Kentucky, Kutu, the second, etc. We are not saying they are angels. People send me messages, and this person did this thing bad and that thing bad. None of us is an angel. We are talking about the values that will drive our society forward. I mean, we all have our shortcomings. So those who send me the messages, yes, I've heard you, but that's why I specifically said when Akufo-Addo was ruling in a tyrannical manner, when he was oppressing us, these people dare to speak. That's all that I've always been saying. I haven't gone beyond that to extol anybody's virtue. So we need more Ghanaians to speak up. We need more Ghanaians to be brave, be courageous. That's the value we are talking about. Right. We need more Ghanaians to look beyond their stomachs. So I haven't gone beyond that to talk about people saying generally they are angels and all that. No, please. So if you do something good, we say it. the next time you get it wrong, we'll say it. You remember the removal of the Chief Justice? Yeah, we disagreed with Sophia Kufu, but I mean, when she stood tall those days, we'll extol her for it. Okay, so thank you very much.
Perfect.
And let's not forget Togbe Afede.
Yes.
Togbe Afede. Thank you.
Perfect. Now, on this, and let me acknowledge the presence as well of Andy Appiah-Kubi. Honorable Andy Appiah-Kubi is the former MP for Asante Achim North Constituency, but this morning it's here in his capacity as a private legal practitioner.
Very well.
And Honorable Andy Appiah-Kubi, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, my brother. It's unfortunate that I got in quite late,
No,
but
that's okay.
the topic that was being discussed, in fact, I am personally a candidate to be discussed, and I want to reassure the public that it is. I didn't have any feeling of illness at all. Myself, I've gone through the process, but I do normal checks every year. Yes.
Okay.
So
Good.
in my checks, then questions came. And then my doctor said, you need to go do some blood tests. No, I had done, they had recommended all the tests. And when they checked, then they found that the PSI was high. And therefore, the doctor advised that I go through the process. So there's something that they do. They take samples, they send to South Africa, and they come and they go through. And after going through the process, I am very healthy.
Oh, good.
Indeed, it took me one day waiting, the next day procedure, the next day I'm out of hospital.
Wow.
And about 1 month out of doing wrong things.
Okay.
And then thereafter, normal firing.
I like that.
You see, Martin was a banda, that is why.
Thank you so much.
People would not agree.
Andy Appiah-Kubi, thank you for coming. Also, we have the Member of Parliament for the Ebra-Asebu-Kwankese constituency. That's what his heart beats for on a daily before anything else. Also, the Minister in charge of Government Communications, Phyllis Kwachofosu, is joining us as well. Honorable, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Alfred.
Perfect. It's good to have you. Kofi Bento is going to be joining us as well. He's a private legal practitioner, the Vice President of Imani Africa. He's just preparing to take his seat in a bit. Alfred, now just give us a picture of how this is. And we indicated earlier about this FOB price difference between Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire. But then you've heard from the cocoa farmers who spoke this morning that, yes, they appreciate this. They've written to thank government for this, because this plus all of these interventions is doing some good for them. So there's no issue there. We heard from them this morning, just a few minutes ago. The president of one of the largest cocoa farmers associations spoke to us. But beyond that,
Alfred,
how does the picture look like? Alfred, yes.
Yeah, as I was listening to him, I was like, well, yeah, there's really no issue to discuss then, right? Because if the farmers are happy, that's what we want. I think that the question, though, was could the farmers be even happier, right? And I think that's an important point. And I'm showing one chart that I'm showing is the difference between the international prices and, the FOB, or what we get, what we actually get. And what you see is there's always a big difference, right? And we have to remember that the FOB price is a matter of policy, right? So it depends on how the Producer Price Review Committee decides to set the FOB. So for example, one of the reasons why we have these lags is because of those contracts, those forward contracts. Because remember, we still sell the bulk of our cocoa through forward contracts, right? And the fact that a lot of them were rolled over from 23-24 is what is impacting this. And so we see that the FOB price. So you might say that 70%, we are giving 70% of the FOB price, but we have to remember that the FOB price is a matter of policy, right? So one of the things I want people, we also need to understand is that is not the same as the world market price. So, on campaign trails, we hear politicians talk about the FOB price, the world market price, like we're going to give farmers 70% of the world market price. And that's not necessarily always the same as the FOB price because of this whole idea of the rollover contract, right? So when we look at the current cocoa pricing, for example, we're giving $5,040 dollars for the farm gate price. That was what was announced in August. We've made some adjustments, which is good, and the farmers are happy about that. So that's in itself 70% of the FOB, but that's actually 55% of the average international prices. So that's why I'm saying that the farmers could be even happier if we get our policy right and if we get our production and things going well, right? Because if we're giving 55% of the world market price, well, that's not 70% of the market price that was promised, right? But and this is all part of the reason why we know the idea of a reset in the cocoa board is very, very important, right? Because it's really non-negotiable that we keep not giving the farmers that the significant share of the international market price. One of the things also is, I mean, you can take the prices over time and adjust them for inflation. And so earlier when the 3228 was announced, when you actually adjusted for inflation, it was less than the previous year. It was probably the lowest. But now with the 3625, one of the things you see is that it's actually a little higher. So when you adjust the prices in 2019 CDs, you see that it's actually higher than the previous year, which would, from a welfare perspective, will say that it's keeping up with inflation and it's actually higher than the previous period. So in terms of it's higher in nominal terms, but in price adjusted terms is also higher, because earlier when it was 3228, it was not. And so I think, the government didn't really have a lot of options, because one, the projection of 10.25, as we later saw, was a little off, right? So the exchange rate now came to mostly over 12, trading at above 12. At least on the interbank market. And then with Ivory Coast also increasing the prices, right? So because we're trying to get smuggling, that also didn't give the government enough choice. So I think the government basically had room to operate to be able to increase the prices. So it's good to see that the farmers are happy. I think my argument is that the farmers could even be happier if we get these, if we get our policies right. And so I think it's a step in the right direction. There's more money for the farmers, and that's a good thing. But there could even be more if we get to that point. So if we get to that point where we have honored all those previous forward contracts. For example, there's contract that was at $2,600 per ton, right? The price is over $9,000. It has been going down a little bit. It has been going down. The forward contract, even the price in the world market has been going down. But we also have to remember that the reason I'm able to use the average now is because we sell forward, right? So we're basically selling about 9 months ago. They've already signed those contracts, right? So we can still use those prices, those higher prices, to see that the average price is still about 9,000 per ton.
Perfect. And that's why that's the same question I put to Phyllis Kwachufo. Says the farmers could even be happier, or they could have been happier. But then again, this morning they've indicated that they have no issue. They've written to appreciate government for this intervention. Alfred makes the case about what could have been done even better, reforming cocoa board and so on. What's going on?
Those reforms are underway, and it will take a bit of time. Given the state of cocoa board as we came to meet it. They say that you cannot cry more than the breeze.
Yes.
So if the farmers, the direct recipients of the price that has been set by cocoa board, are expressing satisfaction about it, who are we then to dispute their claims and purport to be more concerned about their welfare than they are? Of course, government would have loved that it was in a position to offer more to farmers than it has currently done. But we need to bear in mind that cocoa board itself faces significant challenges because of systemic mismanagement that took place over the last 8 years. The state of cocoa board, as we came to meet it, the huge debts that they have had to grapple with. At the beginning of this year, they had something in excess of 30 billion Ghana cedis in debts. We found that over the last 8 years, more went into administering cocoa board than what was put into ensuring that we develop the cocoa sector such that
so that's
we have
total
sufficient...
debt,
Absolutely.
over 30 billion.
The president raised it in the State of the Nation address. We know of the huge arrears in cocoa beans that were bequeathed to us in excess of 200,000 metric tons or so. We have sold the thing forward. But when it was time to deliver, we were unable to do so. So they were carried over to the next crop season. So every ton of cocoa that is produced this year, we had to make up for the shortfall last year. We've break this significantly, according to the CEO of Cocoa Board, when he last engaged the media. But there's some shortfall to still cover. So all of that has played into our ability as a government to offer more to the cocoa farmer. But I think that we've done something that the farmers appreciate. And going forward, more reforms will be carried out to reduce the administrative expenses of Cocoa Board, which for me has been a major drain over the last 8 years or so. Once that happens, more resources becomes available to be able to transfer to the cocoa farmer. In addition to this, there are a number of incentives that have been announced. Strengthening of the scholarship scheme for the wards of cocoa farmers, more agro inputs that the farmers will receive, more training, the introduction of technology and other things that will enhance the cocoa sector. So in all, I think that we can express confidence in the current leadership of Cocoa Board. We can express confidence in the finance ministry that works in tandem with Cocoa Board to ensure that they deliver world-class services to our farmers and have a cocoa sector that is well-honed, that places Ghana at the very forefront of the market. So that's what I would say about it for now. Yeah.
Perfect. Kofi Bentos joining us right now is the Vice President of Imani Africa. He's a private legal practitioner. So, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. Now, I'll take a quick one on this cocoa pricing situation, and then we go on to the major threats that the farmers themselves have shared with us. That's Ghana. Just quick one on.
Yeah, so basically, yes, it's good to see that government has increased the price a bit. And you see the farmers themselves have acknowledged, saying thank you. They say he who feels it knows it, right? So they know it better than me, all right? That's a good step in the right direction. However, I would want to join Dr. Ken Ashigbe in the call for value-added, products more locally. You see, because we all know it's a famous statement that Switzerland doesn't produce 1 bean of cocoa. They don't cultivate 1 bean of cocoa. Yet they make about the most expensive chocolates in the world. So they get our cocoa and then they turn it into chocolate. And sometimes, I think it's over 10 times. If you compare the price of raw cocoa beans to the final product, they make several fold. So it tells you that we are basically bleeding, and we've been bleeding in plain sight for decades. Of course, we don't have enough time to go into it, but about 2 weeks ago, I met a man who, some decades ago, they had tried to get cocoa processing to help do value added. Long story short, it was shut down because of no coffee. You see that thing? And I was like, wow, is that it? He said, yes, that was it. Just because of no coffee. The project never saw...
No coffee meaning what?
What people would get from the deal.
Right.
What people would get from the deal in order, to eke out a living. So in other words, rent-seeking behavior. It didn't see the light of day. So to the extent that this is something we've talked about for decades, I think that it's about time we looked at it again. Everybody keeps saying, add value to the beans. You say, so process it here before it leaves the shores. They tell you that in India, they have a certain law about this same kind of things. That before the product, is it soybean or so, before it leaves the shore, it must be processed up to some extent.
Okay.
To make sure that they get a lot more value, local content. But the way we keep shipping out our raw beans, you remember in our history at a point, Kwame Nkrumah even said if that was going to be right, we will not export cocoa anymore. Right? Yes, at a point. They said no, then there's no need to export. After all the rhetoric, decades on, we are still shipping out raw beans. I mean, it's not the best. Let's look at what we can do to increase the value added. Do a lot more value adding here. Do a lot more processing locally so that then you send it out to them so that we can earn a lot more. Okay, so that's what I have to say for now.
For the state of affairs of CPC, we can't say it enough. Mr. Bento, quick one on this. Yes.
We don't want to face the truth about cocoa. And we don't want to face the truth about the kind of damage our government and the elites have done to cocoa farmers. And we've done some work at Imani on it, and we've discovered a few things. One, Cocoa Board, which was set up with the idea of helping the cocoa industry, mobilizing them for the benefit of the farmers and the benefit of the state, has become essentially a financial institution. And if you have time, I'll explain it, but Cocoa Board today is a financial institution. It mobilizes funds, distributes funds, buys cocoa, ships the cocoa to get some money to pay off the funds and etc. And in that calculation, they have stiffed the farmers. The farmers are amongst the most taxed. We've done this across governments. We've paid lip service to them. We have not lived up to our commitment to the farmers. Do you know there are about 10 cocoa processing companies in Ghana? People don't realize that. I know for a fact, with the checks that we did, that when they go to try and buy cocoa to process, they are resisted by Cocoa Board.
Resisted as in how?
Oh, so because Cocoa Board has done its forward sales of raw beans, it's a financial institution that has taken money. It needs to pay back in beans, and there are all kinds of arrangements going on. So when you want raw beans to process in Ghana, you are competing with Cocoa Board, which has sold the thing already to somebody, collected the money, put it somewhere. And in our economy, the Cocoa Board money was a big deal. All right? And you have a situation where we have created an arrangement that makes it impossible. Martin was just telling you about the Nokofio thing. I'm telling you, today, call Barry Calibo, call Niche Cocoa, call Olam, there are 10 cocoa processing factories in Ghana. They don't get raw beans. All right? So, look, we can go into the cocoa issue, but we have made the point, I have made the point, that one, Cocoa Board has lost its way and is presently a net negative to the average cocoa farmer. All right? In the cocoa farming space, there are enough people, knowledgeable people, chiefs, educated persons, okay, who can organize them and sell their own cocoa. What net benefit does Cocoa Board provide to the farmer? If you go back to first principles, the cocoa farmer, if he's able to sell, should be able to sell as close as possible to the world market. Today, you have a situation where he's forced to deal with a certain price that is set by Cocoa Board. And Cocoa Board, it's a government institution. Okay, Cocoa Board is not today, and not for the last 30 years or so, set up for the ultimate or highest benefit of the farmer. I'm trying to get my words. They are set up for the ultimate and highest benefit of the state. Okay, so look, in short, we need to relook Cocoa Board, and we should start from a tabula rasa. Imagine there is no Cocoa Board, and people say, oh, then how can they sell? They were selling before Cocoa Board. All right, if you go to the villages, some of the beautiful houses, well-built houses you will find, were built by cocoa farmers. Cocoa farmers created our middle class. They were the wealthiest. Today, they are the poorest. And we found also that it is not attracting young, educated people enough. And to the extent that we leave cocoa farming mostly to illiterate, older people, we will continue to have problems. And then there's a final big problem with cocoa farming. If we don't solve it, forget it. We'll keep going down. Galamsey is taking over cocoa farming.
And that's the next phase of our conversation.
If I may, I understand Kofi's position on the matter. Of course, it also has an ideological basis, given where it's coming from. Imani that believes in private enterprise and free market and all that. You see, the way he renders it, if you do not observe it carefully and assess it carefully, you would think that the state has done something wrong against cocoa farmers. You see, when you speak about the state, it also includes the cocoa farmer. The whole idea was that we are a country that has specific needs. So there was a commodity that was in high demand on the international markets. Now, the farmer as an individual was limited in terms of how he was able to market that product and how beneficial that transaction is to the country at large. So the government of the day put in an arrangement to ensure that the state intervenes, such that whereas we take care of the needs of the farmer, the state also benefits. And he is right when he says that cocoa money was a big deal until recently, sometime last year or the year before, when because of our economic conditions, we didn't get much. On the average, he brought in about $2 billion. And before the advent of oil and the surge in gold prices, it was a mainstay of foreign exchange receipts in this country. So it was beneficial to Ghana as a whole. In the course of that exchange, you can argue that we should have done far more for the farmer. But you see, the two are not mutually exclusive. It is possible for the state to benefit. You see, it is possible for the state to benefit in the manner that we've done over the years and still take care of the needs of the farmer.
You can benefit without hurting the farmer. They are amongst the most taxed in this country.
So again, that is an entirely different argument. So if you are talking about fiscal policy towards farmers, that's entirely different from. But if I get you correctly, you are criticizing the whole arrangement where the state participates in the marketing of cocoa. I'm saying there's a direct benefit that we all get.
I am saying over the last 30 years at least, the function or the ethos or the direction of state participation has been to take the most out of the farmer.
Because that,
we have not done well for the farmers.
It has become necessary. Because of the reliance. If I were to land, because of the reliance of the state on cocoa proceeds to shore up our foreign exchange reserves, it has become necessary for the state to take greater interest in the way that it is done. What I'm saying is that it is possible to have a situation where the interest of the farmer is preserved, whereas the state continues. But if I get Kofi correctly, he is basically asking for the state to pull away and revert to the system where the farmer is completely in charge. That's why I said that that's an ideological position that one can understand.
For Cocoa Board to stop being a financial institution and be an advocate.
No, but they cannot.
For cocoa farmers.
They cannot.
Wait.
I want to hear from Andia.
There are more 4x4s in Cocoa Board. Look
I agree.
the pay of the senior.
I agree, and I've said that.
Is that aspect of the reformation?
I agree.
And the research.
Indeed, if you look at it, in fact, when we were in opposition, one of our criticisms, if Mr. Honorable Akiakubi would remember, and he was on the majority side at the time, our ranking member on Agric at the time, the Honorable Ekupuku, who is now Agric Minister, used to do these presentations during the budget, where he would outline how, on a yearly basis, more was going into administrative expenses and the employment of people at the headquarters, as opposed to
the minister.
Yes, no problem. So I'm saying that can be addressed without necessarily appending the state's ability to benefit from the foreign exchange proceeds that we get from marketing cocoa. That arrangement for me is not hurtful to the interests of the state.
Right.
Yes, that's the point I see to make.
Right. Two things I want to put in. One of the distribution of revenues coming from cocoa, and this has happened over a long period of time.
That's true.
The intention of creating this policy was not bad after all, because it was supposed to be a win-win for farmers and for states. But it is also correct, as Kofi says, that they are overtaxed. They are the most taxed, people in society in Ghana today. Is it fair? And the Constitution expects us to be fair to all manner of people in Ghana. So we, as a nation, we have not done well to the cocoa farmer. We must accept that, and then seek to find a way to fulfill the expectations of the cocoa farmer. And indeed, now, I will say that. From 3 years ago up to now, there has been a major increase in the price. Nevertheless, bro, your own showing, we are still lagging behind Africa's Cote d'Ivoire. And it is not enough to say that, well, we are second or so. We want to be first. In fact, cocoa farmers in Cote d'Ivoire want to be first. And in doing so, we will also avert the problem of the smuggling. But if we are not addressing or competing with Cote d'Ivoire fairly, then we will justify the export to Cote d'Ivoire along the borders. So it is important to stop the smuggling by increasing the price of cocoa, at least to the level that it will not be profitable for farmers to attempt to even smuggle. Now I come back to the processing bit. In my position as acting chief executive of Ghana Free Zones Board, we did the Barikalibo thing. And I say it here and now that Barikalibo was courted into the cocoa industry in Ghana. They were in Cote d'Ivoire. I had to go to Cote d'Ivoire to bring them here. And indeed, we needed to give them free land. And on that occasion, there were a lot of people who were attacking me for giving them free land. But the truth in the matter is that at the time, we were trying to access World Bank facility for the development of the enclave. And the World Bank didn't believe that we could populate the enclave. And therefore, it was a problem for us to demonstrate our capacity to populate the enclave. So I eventually went to Cote d'Ivoire begging that they should come. And lo and behold, when they came, it was an attraction. Take free land. locate here. And I remember one of the ministers who came questioned the rationale behind the decision. Why did we have to give them free land? But at the end of the day, they helped us to secure the facility for the whole project. And
now they are struggling.
And now they are struggling. And then one of the companies, one Ghanaian, Opoku, is called Opoku, I've forgotten the name of the company. We had to help him develop even his business plan, push it through approval stage for him to locate there. He is also producing from there. Then let me give credit to Alan Chimatin for the Cargill project. Cargill, through Alan Chimatin, when he was in US, we had to contact Cargill and also call them to come to Ghana. There are a few more, as Kofi said, NIT and all that, and plot in Takrady. I remember I was invited to BNI in 2009 that I had given plot of land to plot in Takrady. So I had to come and answer. But indeed, the answer was that the plot didn't belong to government. It was Mr. Opoku Transport, late, who had the plot and gave to his daughter, who was domiciled in Côte d'Ivoire then, who had come to Ghana. And, all that I did was to facilitate the grant of the license and also the commission of the project. So I explained, and that was it. Now, Kofi has certainly pointed the problem in the industry. All those companies are struggling now with cocoa beans. All of them are struggling now. And it got to a point where we said, let's reserve light crop season for local manufacturers. That policy too, we are not able to implement. But also, one bad thing in the industry, there's too much politics. There's too much politics. In fact, when we say that the farmers are happy, I'm not sure they are happy. Because the expectations that they had... You are not sure? We know. The expectations that they had, because my own good friend, and he's my my buddy, Minister Eric Opoku, was on the floor of the house that we will have to pay 6,000 Ghana cedis and all that. So the expectation of the farmer is that cocoa, they can be rewarded with 6,000 cedis for a bag of cocoa. By your own analysis. So why can't we get it now? So you come and put in a few more hundreds and say that they are satisfied. I'm not sure they are satisfied. But it's all about politics. If we couldn't do it, we needed not to have raised the expectation to that level.
I think that has been explained by Cocoa Board itself. That they are giving a higher percentage of the work.
And if you can do it for the reasons that you cite now, come back to apologize to the farmers and say that we didn't know about this, we gave you this promise, and we have not been able to deliver. That has been thoroughly
explained by both the finance minister and the CEO of Cocoa Board. So it is clear. If we were getting the same amounts we were getting at the time the MD was in power, we will do what exactly we said. Number two, Honorable Abiyakubi and Kofi's position on the shortage of cocoa beans has more to do with dwindling production levels as opposed to any deliberate effort by Cocoa Board to deprive people seeking cocoa beans to process. What had happened is that if at a point, barely 9-10 years ago, you were producing 1 million tons of cocoa, and today you are starting to produce 450,000 tons, naturally there's going to be a shortage. And as I've indicated earlier, but if you let me learn, the point is that there's an issue of scarcity. And when there's an issue of scarcity, the interest of the state will be placed above that of the individuals. The interest of the state is selling raw beans. No. But that is a critical function to obtaining badly needed foreign exchange to show up.
So you agree with
that? The impact of not having that is severe, and it's going to impact all of us.
So your priority is that
the priority
processing.
No. We should. The answer to that is to improve production levels so that you have enough to go around.
Production levels with Galamsey and not.
But that is exactly what we are doing. But Galamsey didn't come up only 2 years ago. So we are in power and we are resolving the problem. That's all.
Talk about Galamsey, and that is the next phase of this conversation. Although not just limited to its impact on cocoa, but then again, it's another area to look at. Gentlemen, you see, because Felix Kwachofosu mentioned the dwindling production levels.
From 1 million to 450,000, more than half.
Indeed, more than half over the
We've
last
lost more than half
3-4
in terms
years
of production capacity. in the last 3-4 years.
It's a major concern.
It's a major concern. So it is going to create natural scarcity. It is not something that government
does.
So we prioritize.
Okay, hold on. When we track production levels,
but if you were a manager of the economy and you had hundreds of millions of dollars to look forward to in order to show up your currency to prevent it from depreciating, would you give it to private producers and let your currency crash? Give it to local producers so that your currency crashes.
I want to hear one person. Hold on. I want to hear one person.
Again, it's the fact that in Ghana, and it's all of us Ghanaians, we don't want to do the sacrifice today for tomorrow. Because you see, in the strategic interest of this country, it is better off to process here and get more value. But I agree with Felix that it would inflict some pain.
Yes.
But you see, the point about it is that, you know, there are situations where you take your son or your child through a painful surgery because you know that is the only way that will be able to save it. And it is a product of our politics. Because you see, our governance is a 4-year cycle. So our tendency is to look at, you know, what would do. And then also, because when that is happening, the opposition too is not allowing governance to happen. They will also be beating that drum. So it forces us to constantly be in the face of politics. But if all of us would decide that, you know what, we want to transform this economy from the Gordonsburg economy, from the plant and ship, to a point where we would then be, adding value. So because of that, the amount of forex we are going to be expecting, we are going to defer that when we start exporting the processed product, which will be more. But some pain will come in the interim. But unfortunately, both the NDC and MPP will not allow that to happen, because if the NDC should take that decision now, you will hear the MPP say, you see, your CD is yo-yoing, but they won't say this is the reason why. And this is the reason why the voices of the others who are not between the two parties should help. And you see, this is also the reason why, as a country, we need to decide that there should be a period for governance. We are constantly in an electoral mode. The opposition will not allow the ruling party, and even the ruling party themselves who are governing are also constantly looking at their campaigning. So we are constantly campaigning. So my plea with all of us Ghanaians is that there are some difficult pills we need to take. And those difficult pills will need some sacrifices that have to be made to be able to take decisions that would be more constructive than what it is that we're doing.
Okay.
Quickly,
all right, thank you.
We made a law against exporting round logs in this country. People said the whole timber industry was going to collapse. We insisted, and now we have a totally different timber industry. You can't export round logs. Why can't we do it for cocoa? Because there's too much politics there, and there's too much short-termism.
And then you see that concern about the dwindling production levels of cocoa over the period we saw within the last 3-4 years.
Yes,
we've been tracking.
Alfred, that is the elephant in the room. I mean, to borrow the
so prioritize.
No, if you let me land, the point is
because it's going to be the leader to the next
this.
phase of the conversation.
Honorable Apia Kubi has spoken about the history of the influx of these cocoa manufacturers into Ghana. Those manufacturers won't come into Ghana if they are not assured of a certain level of local access to cocoa beans. So when production volumes were okay, they were high, they were getting what they needed to get. Once that dwindles through poor management by a government that was in place for 8 years, it is going to impact everybody. In fact, government itself has been unable to get the amounts of foreign exchange that it should get because of dwindling volumes. It is naturally, in fact, I was in Singapore with the president about a month or two ago. We met Olam, and they raised the very issues that Kofi is raising. But they also went further to highlight the causes of the shortage. Their concern was about what was not being done to shore up production, as opposed to government intervening to get foreign exchange. I also maintain that there's nothing wrong with a state that has the muscle stepping in to market cocoa, because we are more likely to get favorable terms than if individual farmers were doing so. Their capacity to do so is extremely limited. But I take the point that we should enhance the welfare of farmers. It is something that we cannot run away from, and this government is committed to doing so. The current pricing position is essentially one that we are forced to adopt because of the circumstances that we came to meet. If you have a debt overhang of 30 billion Ghana cedis, it is surely going to affect how you are able to give the farmer what is due him. So, but once that is corrected, you will see a return to normalcy where the farmer is treated fairly, whilst the state also benefits. I am all for local production of cocoa. Indeed, I think Ghanaian cocoa is the best. As a principle, I don't eat cocoa from any other country, no matter how much I'm given, because I believe that Ghanaian cocoa is tasty. Absolutely, it's the best. It's the best in the world. It's the best in the world. It is in our interest to process. But you see, the things that are being spoken about will require significant policy shifts that take a bit of time to do, especially in the circumstance that we've come to meet Cocoa Board. I agree that Cocoa Board requires some reform. I agree that it is top heavy and must be pruned down to the barest minimum to achieve the sort of efficiency that will enable us plow back more resources to the farm. I agree that the cost of running Cocoa Board must reduce because in the last few years it has gone up too high, way beyond acceptable limits. All that are being addressed, and then also the structural inefficiencies and all that are being addressed. But in the interim, these measures are necessary to keep the industry afloat so that it does not collapse completely. But I'm sure that in the next 2, 3, 4 years, we should see significant improvements in the way that Cocoa Board operates and the way that the farmer benefits.
It's important that you say this because of the reforms that Cocoa Board itself is going through. So this is a major part of the reforms we're going to see.
Oh, absolutely.
At Cocoa Board.
In fact, it's one of the KPIs that the president has given the new chief executive to reform that sector and ensure that it functions. And I was in the meetings with the president when he met the industry players, and he told them, on certain terms, that he is for more local production of cocoa. In fact, look at CMC, Cocoa Production Company. They make some of the best products in the world in terms of cocoa.
CPC, yes.
CPC, I beg your pardon. But look at their state.
Indeed.
So ban export of raw beans.
In fact, you know that it is not as simple as that.
It's not simple, but it's work.
But you know that it's not as simple. It's not as simple as that. It's a major policy decision that will be taken.
Thank you very much.
Once the proper evaluations are done and we see that it's a beneficial policy.
Okay, so I think that the CEO of Cocoa Board, Dr. Randy Abe, sent a number of things which you have actually talked about right now, including the current debt of CPC as of June 2025.
Yeah, they are on their knees, basically.
$134.6 million.
Yes. And for a company like that is huge. I mean,
that's cocoa processing.
For instance, company. My favorite product of theirs is what they call Pebbles. Very nice product. But you will struggle to get it now. You will struggle to get even 2 packs, 3 packs of Pebbles in any shop. Because of the way that company has been mismanaged over the last few years.
And that also dovetails into the production levels that has dwindled over the last at least 3 to 4 years. Yes.
And they are even smaller.
Thank you.
They are even very small private cocoa manufacturing companies
seen that
do fantastic products.
One of the major contributors to the dwindling production levels is Galamsey.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if we track, we track from 2019 over the last 5-year period. We're going to show you, but we have seen, and this has also been attested to by the former Cocoa Board CEO, who indicated at the press conference that, look, Galamsey is taking a lot away from the sector in terms of, for instance, how cocoa farmers themselves, selling their lands to Galamsey operators. We have videos to that effect we've been playing over the period, and in some cases, the Galamsey operators forcefully taking over cocoa farms. Over the last 5 years, this is what has happened. Over 20,000 hectares of cocoa farms destroyed. 12,000 tons of cocoa lost yearly. So if you talk about now 450 tons is what we've been producing.
Yeah,
it's even difficult to get.
The point is that
you see this 1.46 million hectares of trees cover lost.
You see, the point is that the allure of gold is very powerful. People are attracted to it. Since ancient times, gold has been a major attraction for people.
We allow him.
Okay. No, I think the picture is clear as to what has contributed to this particular situation, and Galamsey being a major part of it. Now, what is being done now to address this? One of the major threats to cocoa production in this country, aside from these reforms that we are talking about, Galamsey.
Yes, you see, again, as I was saying, the allure of gold is extremely powerful. So it may appeal to the cocoa farmer more than cultivating cocoa. So because of that, the underlying problem, which is Galamsey, has to be tackled. Because whereas you rightly pointed out that there are some of the farms that have been forcibly taken over by Galamsey operators, I think in the main, the farmers voluntarily give up their land because they are made offers that, to quote the phrase in Godfather, they cannot refuse. So that really is the difficulty. Now,
I'm not sure that is a fact.
Okay,
but if I have acknowledged.
Hold on, gentlemen.
No, I have acknowledged. Listen,
thank you.
But if you allow me to land, if you allow me to land, if you allow me to
hold on. Hold on a bit. I'll give you the time to speak. I will give you the time to speak. I'll give you the time to speak. I will give you the time to speak. Thank you.
So let's
so he asked me about the impact of Galamsey, and I'm saying that you need to assess the problem holistically. Yes, there have been reports of Galamseyers forcefully taking over cocoa farmlands to engage Galamsey. There are also indications that some of the farmers voluntarily give it up because of the offers they are made. They find that it's more lucrative than going through the drudgery of cultivating cocoa over some time. And in fact, that particular problem is pervasive around the country when it comes to Galamsey. There are communities that are attracted to do Galamsey because they think that they are getting money. Last week or so, I saw some figures being banned. I don't know how true it is. That there are some who make as much as 70,000 Ghana cedis a week or so from Galamsey. Now, if in a rural community there's somebody making 70,000 Ghana cedis a week, you can just imagine how powerful that person will be and the influence that he will wield. It is the reason why these young men are attracted to go and do it, sometimes at the peril of their lives. There are some who are prepared to lay down their lives. They don't care about the risk involved. And often we hear about cave-ins and injuries and deaths. They don't care. It is still alluring. So even as you tackle Galamsey, you must address that push factor. And I'm sure that if Cocoa Board gets its acts right and cocoa farming becomes lucrative once again for people, if we are adding more value and we are generating employment and finding an alternative way of engaging even those who want to go into mining to do so responsibly, then we will address this problem. So it is a roots and branch approach that we need to adopt. The issue of Galamsey itself and what can be done can be separated from the impact it is having on the cocoa sector. And that is precisely what I'm speaking to, that you cannot address it without tackling the push factor. Because when the cocoa farmer is offered money far and above what he calculates he will get if he cultivates cocoa over a 3, 4, 5 year period, you can imagine that he will quickly see this land for this to happen. So that really is the issue.
Yes. Okay. Well, on the one
good. First and foremost,
so the underlying factor is the push factor. That is the monetary benefit.
I see that as the failure of the state.
Why?
We have laws in Ghana. You cannot say that because this illegality is more profitable, we should allow that to override the legal process. No. If a state cannot bring about lawfulness within the country, I'm saying that it is evidence of failure of the state. Nobody can tell me that because Galamsey brings more money, we should allow it to compete out.
Sure that's what failure is.
That's what I'm saying.
No.
There's a certain reality that I've highlighted. That's all. I'm not saying that it's acceptable.
The reality is what government must confront and take away.
I agree.
You understand? And nobody can convince me that because, and I'm saying this because Galamsey is an illegality. We need to uproot it. Who will do it? It must be the function of the government to do it. Because myself, yes, you have all the state powers to be able to handle Galamsey. And the assurances given over and over again suggest that you knew and understood how to manage it. We cannot sit down and say now that we can't manage it and therefore that takes away the profits we are getting from the cocoa sector. That is unacceptable. I want to believe that
I don't think that suggestion has been made.
That's what I'm saying.
That it cannot be managed.
In the Galamsey fight, we have done it in our community, in my village. I asked you many times to come and see. And when I was the member of parliament,
his personal, that's where for me leadership comes in.
When I had a group.
When you were the MP of Asante Achimba.
Yes, I had a group that will prevent it. We will allow you. In fact, I remember one of the conferences, I met with the chief executive of Minerals Commission, who questioned me why I am so adamant. I said, my friend, you give a license to whoever. It will not happen in my constituency. The license can come, and they came. We wouldn't allow them. Indeed, I was personally involved. Most of the times, we will go there with the whole community to seize the equipment. Some of them, we ourselves, we burn them. And others, we I remember one day I had to bring my own money to hire the low loaders to pick the excavators.
Only way out now.
You understand? We have to uproot it. In recent times, I'm told that even in my community, people are mining.
In Asante Achimno?
Yes. Now, in my community, my village, Gansa and Domiabra, there are people in the village, in the bush, and they are mining. And you see, they will tell you, where is your interest? You understand?
No, but you can still lead your...
but Masa, you don't understand.
Okay.
You don't understand the local politics. You are no more, you have no powers. You see, please go and rest. So the issue of guarantee, you see, all these things you are mentioning, these are life-threatening situations that confront us. So we cannot, under any circumstance, use any economics to justify the illegality. So please, as for guarantee, we must all, but again, take away the politics. Me, I'm not interested in politics. When we are talking about, life-threatening situations, let us all acknowledge that Galamsey is not an issue to use in politicking, because when you finish, you cannot provide the solutions. So let us all see how can we solve it. And I was trying to demonstrate my own community approach. And I'm sure that you can't do it without the chiefs. You can't do it without the community. No policeman can go and stay in the bush 365 days in a year. No policeman. But the community itself, they know where the things are going on. And they know how to stop them. So let's get a more open, community-based approach. And in every community, the problem is different. There are some who are in rivers. There are some who are in forest. There are some who are in... And again, it is something that all of us must put our shoulders on and push it. Let's not politicize it. It is not A or B or C party that can do it. All of us must do it.
And because you talk about the leadership, the fight against Galamsey trickling down to the communities, the chiefs, in your view, must take the lead.
In most cases, even government appointees, they are the problem. Government appointees, in my own scenario, there were people who were calling me, but these people in this community, they are doing it. Why are you insisting that we can't do it? Why my colleague, so-and-so, is making so much money? And your own government appointee comes to you and say that his colleague from here is making so much money, and you are preventing them from making it up. And most of the time, the government appointees, sometimes even the policemen, and other times also our chiefs, some of them campaigning against me because I won't allow them to do it. When their colleague chiefs...
Some chiefs campaigned against you.
I'm telling you. When their colleague chiefs in the other jurisdictions are making money, I am to know, say I won't allow. You understand? Some of them, they don't understand. Some of them, they're interested in money. But let us rise above all those things. And, me personally, I feel very sad when I see this kind of hopelessness. And apart from the dwindling volumes, the quality will be affected. We are being kicked out of the market gradually. Come to think of it, in the next 5 years, we may find it difficult to access international markets. And our cocoa will be useless to us because we will be forced to eat them by ourselves, and we will be eating the cyanide and the mercury in the country. That will also be injurious to our health. So please, as for Galamsey, no turning back and no excuses. Let's all fight it.
But you say while you were MP, and I'll come to you, both of you, gentlemen.
I invited you to come and adopt my...
In fact, you did. And prior to the elections, we spent some 6 hours in your area. So we can say that indeed, while you were MP at Asante Achim North, we did not, based on our own visit to the constituency, see any illegal mining going on. You say while you were MP, you were even having that pressure from your government appointees to come and mine.
Yes, those who are doing it next door, here and there, they are saying, but this man is doing it and he's making money. Why would you say that you of all people you agree? I face the same situation with the Fulani fight.
Yes,
but on both situations, I said, no. You can have your money, but we'll do what is right.
You think doing the right thing cost you your seat?
Well, I don't mind, but it was the right thing to do, so I've done it.
You see, Chief, I drove my heart out to you. And it's just an epitome of what leadership, personal leadership can do. But, Honorable, I don't know why you struggle to mention their names. You see, it's the same problem my brother sitting by you two should also not be having. And you see, no, let me deal with that. The people around, you see, the people around the two of them, they are the starting problem. The people around them.
The politicians?
Yeah, the politicians, they are the starting problem. The chiefs are the next ones. Again, I'll give you examples of chiefs. If you go to Jema, there's a frail chief who is sick, but because that man decides, and with his people, and again, you see the community approach that Honorable Apiakubi did, brought his people together, they are fighting it and it is happening. You go to a place like Mampong, the Mampohene also decided that he was not going to allow it. There's a community around Kwabing, I've forgotten the name of the town, but they have a river there called Esubone. Like the chief in the Western region, who is a woman, they have a queen mother. The queen mother and his people say that there's not going to be any galamsey. You can actually put a calabash in that and drink. Just a few steps to Kwabing is what it is. So again, galamsey is happening there. So when you flip it, you see when you do the logic, and so if this is the null set, and then you flip it, it means that there, the chief is either complicit or he is part of it. And so one of the prescriptions that when we met the president, the coalition pushed, is that we should celebrate the chiefs that are doing this, are preventing it, and start going after the chiefs that are either acquiescing or are looking on. So for me, I pray and I call on the National House of Chiefs that the time to support the effort of His Excellency the President is now. They themselves should be able to, you see the way Honorable Apiakubi knows some of the chiefs that were coming against him and all of that. They know the people. They should start calling the people out. But for the government, what we should start doing is immediately, anywhere we go, you see, and most of the places where galamsey is happening, it's not like me, my community chairman. Alfred, we are celebrating our 100 years for Catholicism on the 18th. His Excellency the President will be there. So, Felix, all roads that don't come here. All roads lead to Chame. But you see, in the Chame area, for us, the lands are two lands. Not two lands.
Let me just give one sentence. Everybody mining in our rivers is a medra.
Yes.
And they should be treated as such.
Correct.
Okay.
So in where we come from in Chame, for example, our lands are family lands. They are not school lands. But where the galamsey is taking place, all of them are school lands. So the chiefs control them. If you like Alfred, today all of us here, sitting here, there's 6 of us. We should take cutlasses and go to any land in any of those places and say we are going to start planting and see who will come after us. Yes. So when somebody moves an excavator to any of those lands, the chief knows about it. Yes. So we should start confiscating the land. First thing, confiscate the land from the chiefs.
Confiscate the land from the chiefs.
And then
I'll come to you.
And then when we have to do reclamation, we reclaim it. And let that become state land immediately. Yes, exactly.
No, please.
But when you confiscate the land, then you start investigating the chief for complicity. And again, this is why FIC would come in. If you look at the financial flows, you would be able to trace it. You would go back again and ask the police people, who comes to bail the galamseyers when they are arrested? Immediately to tell you who the people are. Immediately it gives you, so then you go in with, your financial checks and all of that. You will see the interrelation. You see, so that again is another element that has to be done. But let me come to the big thing about the economics of it. If you take an acre of land, of cocoa land, it will give you about $4,000 per annum. If you get now cocoa, the price of gold is now over 4,000. So maybe if you are lucky and there's gold there, you might get maybe about 8,000. But tell me, what happens to that land afterwards? It is completely gone. So you see again, so these are the places where the storytelling has to go. Go to the people who have sold their land to the galamseyers and see the poverty that is happening. The poverty that is happening after that is happening. So nobody's really telling that story to them. So the allure is basically an ISO mentality. We are cutting our tongues and we are eating and we think we have some. They get poorer after they've given their lands. The only people who get to benefit are the criminals. And now Galamsey has become organized crime. It's become organized crime. And it is serious organized crime. And that's why for me, His Excellency the President, my call to him is that for selfish reasons, to preserve his presidency, he needs to win this particular fight. He needs to win it. Because you see, where we are getting to, and even for us in the large scale mining, we're getting to a place that if we're not careful, very soon, it's not only our cocoa that will not be able to sell. Very soon our gold will not be able to sell.
And in recent times, our cabbages and things, we are receiving the warnings.
You know, so very soon they are going to now start saying that our gold is all now tainted. So it is important that at this stage we start dealing, you see, and the issues again are not the people you find in the pit. Like that 70,000 that Felix was mentioned. It is a kingpin that is sitting there who collects 70,000 from people and allows people to go and to go in. And that's people know, they know them. And so we should start fishing, these people out. Unfortunately, you know what is happening? There's the British Ghana gold project that they are doing that is looking at the issues around illicit financial inflows. It's a good thing they've joined a Ghanaian doing it, but we need to own that quickly. Because, the whole issues around after the people who look at, currently Ghana now, we are clean, we are not in the gray. Yeah. Most of the countries around us are. The next check that they are going to do is coming in January. So we have a great opportunity. Unfortunately, with the revision of the law, the mining law that is taking place. There was an engagement even yesterday between the Minerals Commission and this group and then even the chamber. I think the opportunity for us to be able to start putting in place the right things, especially tracing the money. Who are the people who imported the 200 excavators into this country? Let's start looking again into their bank account and trace where the monies are coming from. You see, who are the people who own all the... So you saw the NIMOS, the work they're doing. You saw that Land Cruiser that is in there. Yeah. Who are the people who own them? The over 4,000 excavators that have been arrested. Who are the people who bought them, who sold them? If we follow their money, we will get them. So I think and so when we ask again for... And I see it. His Excellency has the political will. The minister currently for lands is doing a lot of the efforts. But there's still some urgency that is required that we ask the president of. And when we talk about the state of emergency, those are some of the things. But currently, one of the biggest things that is also beginning to happen, and I think we should commend the Forestry Commission. You know what the Forestry Commission, the board and its people are doing? If you go to the wildlife, you see that the wildlife people, they stay on the camp where the thing is happening, and their people are armed. So normally the poachers it will be difficult for the poachers to come. Yes. And when they come and find poaching happening around you, then you can hold the wildlife people who are there to say, what did you do? But currently, with what NIMOS does, again, good jobs that are being done, we need to make them permanent. So Forestry Commission is beginning to take an example of what they do with the wildlife people, and even with the forestry people. They are planning of building permanent structures that are there, that are protected, and then we need to give them arms. So for me, one of the things I agree with the minister and the Forestry Commission board chairman and then the CEO, is that we need to provide the level of armament. You go into other African countries and even the US, they are called rangers. They have the weaponry they are carrying, the level of training given to them. It's like what the people at Chelsea do. When you come, they will deal with you. But because they are permanent there, if Felix goes to that place, for example, and he sees anything happening, he can tell them that where were you? Where were you when this thing happened? But currently, you know what happens? By the time, and I'm sure NIMOS themselves, they are doing it. By the time you go to the operation, you have to confiscate all the phones of all of these people. Because by the time you get there, if there were 22 excavators there, they have moved them. So you go and do the operation and then you catch a few people.
That is why.
When they are going to, immediately they are going, they will tell them, oh, Charlie, you call, you better about 2 weeks so you come. So 9 months, what I'm pleading with Felix to the president is that let's make them permanent in places. So currently you've trained about 400 of them. You need to provide them enough equipment and let them be stationed at the extra red zones. Keep them there. Train more people, keep them there. So once they are there permanently, you can decide that you do rotations every 6 months, But once they are there, immediately anything happens there, you hold them accountable. So that for me is a critical thing that you need to do. Another last thing that I would say before so we'll go to the rest of my quick. His Excellency, the issue of the KPIs for Galamsey. I don't know whether they've been signed, but it should be something that should actually be properly documented. So when I was coming from Takwa to Takrady, and I get to a place like Simpa, and then you can see Galamsey when you are in the car and by the side of the road. You should not be bothering His Excellency the road. Yeah, by the side of the road. You should not be bothering His Excellency the President.
What should you do?
Neither should you be bothering the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources. You know who represents the President in there? Who is clothed with all the powers? Is the DC. He is the chairman of the mining committee, the municipal or district mining committee. He's the chairman of the security committee in the place.
DISEC.
The DISEC or the music in the place. So why would you be worrying yourself? Immediately, if His Excellency has put in there that this should be done, you just call on it and say, you, this is your KPI, you've not done it, you are dismissed. And you don't just dismiss, you then start tracing. You start tracing and finding out if there's any linkages with the financial flows, and you start prosecuting them. They will tell you the reasons why they are not able to do that. Oh, constituency chairman, regional chairman, the people. Yes. But how many of them have you heard screaming out to the president to say, President, help me, oh, help me? None of them, you're not hearing them. So they themselves, they are either complicit or they are incompetent. So again, so we need to start. And so I will pray to His Excellency that if they have not signed those KPIs yet, he should bring them immediately, let them sign it and make it open. And not only them, the police commanders in those communities. The IGP told us that there were going to be some transfers. What has the transfers happened? Who are the new people who are there? What KPIs have been given to them? A big thing to be able to solve this problem for His Excellency is transparency. And you know what? We have an opportunity that we might never have again. A president served a term, gone to sit back 8 years, has seen all the things that are wrong, does not have to serve another term again, does not need anybody again after this term. A president that has gone through all the routes. So if we don't support him at this time, at this very time that we're talking about, and unfortunately, the window for His Excellency is not another 3 years to go. The window for him is maximum another 1 year plus. You will see the clamoring that will start happening for his position. Once that happens, it's the same thing that ate up the NDC, the BB. It's the same thing that they was, so we need to support him, His Excellency, at this particular time, to be able to get this thing. And those of us who cry out the loudest, His Excellency should know. Me, I supported Nanado when he started putting the presidency on the line and all of that. But immediately that changes, we will point it out. So currently, me, if anybody, I would want this president to succeed. Because you see, you know what? All of us are at risk. Do you know that we all know that Ghana water, what they were using 10 buckets to treat water. I think the example was Bonsa. Then a week. Then they moved to 10 buckets a day. Then they moved to 40 buckets a day. And then because it was not being effective and was very expensive, what then they started doing was that they moved to a polymer. You know that polymer, what is used in doing? It is used in treating wastewater. Wastewater. That is what is being used in treating for us.
For us to consume.
To consume. Who has done the test to say when you drink that water for a long period of time, what happens to you? And then who has also done it to ensure that this water, when it is treated with the polymer, it takes out the heavy metals out of that. So our ask as a coalition, one of the asks that we do is that we are asking His Excellency to get the Ghana water, community water and sanitation, and an independent body, the water research, whatever, to publish for us the turbidity on a daily basis. And then also water quality in terms of the heavy metals and all of that, so that we can have assurances that the water we are consuming, is it something that, how do you call it? Is below the levels that WHO recommends us to do. We wrote that letter to the Standard Board, to Ghana Water, and to Food and Drugs Board in the past regime. What did they do? As my friends the Ghans who say, we didn't get a response. So I plead that this one that we've sent, Felix, please ask His Excellency. I think we should be able to look at that again. And then also food. The food now, we've been told about the soil and the food, the toxicities that are in it. We need to spend, the state itself need to spend some money. So when we do that, then people will then start realizing it. That when the government, when the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources is coming after people, it is for their own good. Currently, a lot of them don't know. There was a video I saw in one of the large-scale mines. They had gone in there to go and, encroached. And you know what they did? They blasted. And when they blasted, there were some of their people in there. Fortunately, these large-scale mines, they are big because of safety reasons. They have cameras there. So the guys, they blasted them, killed them. Wow. And unfortunately, they also think that the more blood up is poured, the more gold they get. So we need to start working on the psyche of our people to say this is geology. It has nothing to do with gold. The fact that you see it here, you don't see it here, it has nothing to do with it. So we need to start winning the war on the minds of our people to let them realize that they themselves are victims. How much of that $4,000 per ounce do they get when they do this?
In fact, there was a community where some illegal miners were buried as a result of the collapse of a pit. When NADMO and the other emergency response agencies went there, the residents prevented them from going in there to go and retrieve anybody, any possible survivors. Because of the point that you made about this belief that when people die, it influences. But you see, Kofi, there was the reference to that, the Land Cruiser that was found, and I'll come to that point about traceability. This week, that was as a result of one of the operations of NIMOS. The Chinese nationals, and then that NIMOS busted. That's what you see on the screen there. That was on Wednesday, the 8th of October. The National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat, NIMOS Task Force, they arrested 2 Chinese, and this is the 4x4 that you talk about. It's a Toyota Land Cruiser V8 with registration number JR44214. 4 excavators were impounded, 2 heavy water pumping machines as well. 12 makeshift structures were destroyed. You see, it is easy to trace the owner of this car.
Felix can do it today. Right now, he can call his brother at DVLA to really be able to point it out.
Kofi, on this, starting from this particular point.
Let me just make a point that was just made here, and then I'll continue. The kind of stories I am hearing about the kinds of ritual sacrifices going on in Galamsey areas.
Ritual sacrifice?
Yeah, will make you cringe. I can't mention it on TV. Off air, I'll tell you. It will make you cringe. So when you talk about they didn't let them rescue the people who were trapped, there is a belief that the amount of gold you get has a correlation with the amount of blood that is spilled. And there is a belief also that the younger the blood, the better. Yes. Okay. I'll leave it there.
Felix, there's one of them that, so just to add to that, there's a baby that the parents killed.
Don't go there. I beg, we are all air.
Oh, but no, I'm just asking Felix. I think that thing needs to be investigated.
Okay.
All right. Fortunately, the former IGP got involved and they took the baby. So the pathologist was able to take the baby out. It was somebody, also hospital. That's where they buried the child. So that one we should investigate and find them out.
Okay, now to the point. Look, let me summarize this thing. There's a nexus between Galamsey and cocoa. Clearly, it's the same land.
True.
All right. There's an economics between them, and the economics of Galamsey cannot. The economics of cocoa cannot override Galamsey. Galamsey will always overtake it. But the biggest issue is this: whether Galamsey will succeed or cocoa will succeed is a function of the projection of government power. Period. It is a function of how state resources are deployed. We are seeing a lot of policy incoherence in those two industries. Let me explain policy incoherence. One side is pulling to the left, another side is pulling to the right. Today, we don't want Galamsey. but we are buying Galamsey gold to shore up the city and hold the economy together.
And we expect to get more.
You constantly say this, and I've always said that is there any data or proof
it's clear.
to show
It is clear.
The
data shows that a lot of the gold we are buying now is coming from small-scale mining.
Small-scale miners
let me finish. Small-scale
miners.
mining is up to 85% Galamsey. All right?
If you want to license small-scale miners?
Masa, I said we are buying small-scale mining gold. And small-scale mining gold is 85% illegal mining. If you, the facts are there. So
I say that the Gold Board has constantly indicated they buy gold from licensed small-scale miners, unless you have information that's contrary to that.
I'm saying so. You see, and now
no. So again, I think just to answer that question from the Gold Board, the Gold Board CEO himself had talked about the fact that currently traceability is a problem, and they are working to be able to fix the traceability. And again, if you want to do the math, currently they are producing about 52% of the gold.
Yes.
The licensed small-scale miners, you will be able to do and find out how much of everybody produces. You know.
Okay. Yes. So there's a policy incoherence there. You have the cocoa area too. There's a policy incoherence there. If we process more cocoa, we'll get more money. But we've sold the cocoa beans in forward sales. And Felix will tell you we need the money to show up the economy. So clearly, we are burning on both ends. Okay. And then Galamsey is also eating up the cocoa production. Now, we know that Galamsey today is a matter of organized crime. The people who are spending millions of dollars doing LCs, importing hundreds of excavators into Ghana and clearing them and sending them to the bushes are extremely well organized.
Yeah.
And their financiers and all those people are sitting in air conditions offices in Accra. Like Engineer Ken is saying, you can trace if you want to trace. Ghana is a very small country. And everybody knows everything. So look, if we want to do it, it is about how we project and direct government power. I want President Mahama to succeed. But I've said and I've repeated that the indications do not look like he will succeed. Look, he has a short time. What he needs to do is disrupt. And like Ken is saying, if he documents the measures of success, what we need to see, how we need to get there, okay, he can't finish it, but he can start it. And he can disrupt to a point that the next person who will come can take it up and solve it. But now, and I say these things because they are the big elephants in the room we need to deal with.
Right.
We have a creeping situation where our local people are getting comfortable with Galamsey. It is feeding them because of the Galamsey economy. Now Galamsey has become an elite fight, led by Ken and the coalition all of us are part of.
Sure.
But you have a situation where our people at the local levels have made peace with Galamsey and will become the people who will be fighting us. We need to deal with that dynamic. All right. So in short, it is a projection of government power. And today the projection is looking like it is working on a nefarious angle. It is helping the people who are causing the problem because of the policy incoherence. We want the benefits thereof, but we don't want the problems thereof. And somehow, because of that, the government is not projecting properly. I mean, here we have a living, sitting example here. We've said it over and over again. That it is local leadership that can stop this thing. Okay, they don't get support. Wherever you don't find Galamsey is the chief and community leaders mobilizing their people to stop it. And they've stopped even people who have licenses, so-called.
Yes.
All right. So we know the solutions, but look, the benefits too are there. And now we get to a point where there are laws called RICO laws. Okay, it's for tracking, racketeering, tracing the money, and catching the big boys. We are not implementing. We are not even passing them. All right. We have community leadership that can be helped. The people who are doing the work, like you say, I said it's a projection of government power. When power changes hands, Andy is here. He's just told you what we've been saying all over the place.
True.
A different set of people go in. There's a story I wanted to tell, but maybe because of time I can't tell. How the mine is owned by somebody. When they change hands, then they switch it to another person. Yeah. And they just play those games.
And he just comes to front.
Yeah.
It's the same
So,
scheme.
it is the same powers of the state which are being deployed to protect these people and to continue their mayhem. I don't know where it will stop, but I know for a fact that if we get leadership at the very top to go broke over this matter and say, look, we are going to go all out and disrupt them, there's a price we will pay. The price is the benefit we are getting, okay, the dollars and whatever it is. There's a lot of political financing also coming through that place, all right? And we need to decide that, look, enough is enough. Because, look, we are all paying the price. We'll continue to pay the price. Okay, more people are going to die. Okay. And it is the germ of a bigger problem. I've said it over and over and over and over again. I'll repeat. Galamsey in diamonds is what collapsed Sierra Leone, Liberia, and those neighboring countries. Because you had youth who became hardened, militarized, and they became armed, knew the forest, and at a point, they knew they could override the standing army of that country. It just took a spark, somebody to mobilize them, and they melted down their whole nations. We are dealing with an existential problem. We're already facing the consequences thereof. The worst consequences are yet to come. We just mentioned the issue of sacrifices and rituals going on there.
Yeah.
What these people are becoming is a different kind of human being that does not fear anything. And when they break out, we will understand why we are making the calls we are making today. Let's stop it now. It will take the projection of state power to stop it, to do it. Otherwise, we will stand to pay the price in future.
And that disruption that you want as a solution to this, you're not seeing that.
I am not seeing
the kind of the will.
Okay, there is a talk, but I've said that the actions and the kind of commitment, the things that need to be done for us to get confidence that this will be dealt with are not being done. We're getting a lot of talk, but I've said and I repeat, watch the action on the ground. Don't watch the talk.
It's the action.
The action on the ground. And if you look at the action on the ground, there is a whole new set of excavators out in the forest now. There are a whole new set of leaders leading the Galamsey fight now. All right. If you see the action on the ground,
a new interest to go into the forest now.
We are mobilizing the outcomes of Galamsey and trying to use that to help the economy instead of stopping Galamsey. So when you put them together, that's why I call it policy incoherence. One side is pushing to the left, another side is pushing to the right. And I'm telling you, we have to decide that, look, there will be some sort of, blowback. There will be a downside, okay, even on the economy, etc. But I think Ghanaians are getting to the point where we are prepared to pay that price to a certain extent. I agree with Ken when he says that the 4-year electoral cycle is a problem, okay? But we need to have what we have called in Imani a rational elite consensus. We all have to come and agree that, look, this is what makes sense, and every country is pushed forward by its elite. And then we talk to our people, we find ways of winning them of what they are learning. Because look, the natural conclusion to what our youth are learning today, working under very terrible conditions, okay, confronting death, getting to know the use of arms, all right, the set of skills that they are building has only one use. And when we get there, we will understand why we need a rational elite consensus to stop this thing, bear the brunt, and fortunately, the brunt is not that bad. If you take Galamsey and cocoa, for instance, if we can do something really good about cocoa, it won't give them as much as Galamsey, but it will hold them.
True.
All right? This country has a lot of construction that needs to be done. If we can find a way to put these guys in some of these things, it won't give them the same money, but it will give them something to hold them. Okay? I have stories of people, drivers' mates, farm hands, construction guys, and these guys, they stopped going to work. And when they were their leaders, somebody was asked why they were not coming. They said they all went to Galamsey. And I'm telling you, they will tell you today that people are not finding laborers, people are not finding people to work. The guys who are operating the excavators in the mine pits, the operation of an excavator is a skill. And it's very useful in construction and other places.
Yes.
They are deploying those things for mining. We should have a real effort, even if we are going to pay some people, to get them to redirect those things. There will be some downside. But I'm telling you, this pussyfooting about this Galamsey thing, when it tips, there's always a tipping point. And when it tips, we will all have to run away.
Some DCEs you think should have been fired by now? If indeed this fight against Galamsey
absolutely
was happening.
When I said I wasn't going for the president's meeting, and by the way, Imani was represented, I put all of that on Facebook.
Some DCEs should have been sacked by now.
If I don't see DCEs being sacked, I will never admit that the president is serious. He is your man on the ground. Every Galamsey going on in this country goes on in a district. He can't tell you he doesn't know. If he doesn't know, that is catastrophic incompetence. All right? And if he knows, what is he doing about it? And look, what are we afraid of? Sack DCs every week. I have said, Ken has repeated, forfeit the lands. Listen, there is benign negligence. I didn't know and something happened. If galamsey happens on your land, the best you can say as a chief, as a DCE, regional minister, is benign negligence. I didn't know. Benign negligence in the case of galamsey, which is an existential problem in this country, okay, amounts to catastrophic incompetence. You sit in your office, you ride your pickup or your V8, and you say you don't know that galamsey is going on. But that's the best. And if you go beyond benign negligence, there is complicity, which is to say, you know what is going on. You've either decided not to do anything about it, or you are actually part of it. I can tell you, more than 50% of the cases, it is complicity. If you have put a person there by your own appointment, and the person is complicit in doing the worst things possible, why do you keep the person there? Then why can't you sack the person?
The extreme side is that those people have organized groups working for them.
I'm coming there. And there's criminal complicity. Those people, that's what he just said. It's not just about somebody coming and you removing your IO. I am telling you that some of those people are actually the people who are doing the organization. They are the links between the financiers in Accra, etc., and the people there. And when the police arrest them and whatever it is, the calls that go around, some are routed through them. They have become protectors of the problem. Okay? So see, if we don't see certain indicators, I will never be convinced that Jubilee House is serious about dealing with galamsey. And it has to be serious. Okay? And Alfred,
yes,
I don't see why we can't have a league table. Okay? Where do we have galamsey? Who are the people there? Sack them every week, appoint new people. All right? That is disruption enough. You know why? If every month there's a new DCE, that person will not be well established in the system to even build their networks properly. Okay? So I'm saying there has to be some disruption of this criminal enterprise, which has the only potential it has is to become a worse problem for us as a country.
Sack DCEs every week.
Sack DCEs every week. Regional ministers are there. Okay? Look, forfeit the lands. When you talk about benign negligence or whatever it is, when you have land and you are the chief and you are the custodian of the land and you sit and you allow that to happen, in fact, in some places it's grounds for disstowment. And I hear in Ashanti, some people have been distilled over that stuff. Okay. So when you sit,
4 or 5 chiefs, yes.
Yeah, and if you allow the land to be poisoned, the president holds our resources in trust. Okay, there is legal ground for the land to be taken from you, because under you have allowed it to be poisoned and destroyed. The minerals there don't belong to you by our law. That's a different argument. But I'm saying there is even sufficient legal grounds for the forfeiture of lands that have been tainted by galamsey. Let the state own it so nobody legally can go there anymore. All right? If we see some of these actions, and not all of them will be perfect or yield immediate results, but like I'm saying, we need disruption and then we start going in to fix the problem.
There was a point that Engineer Kenashigbe was in a conversation with me about a DCE who I interviewed just, I think, about a month ago, who, when there's the IGP's task force stormed a particular area, the residents were rather fighting the task force.
Yes. That's what I'm saying.
And I spoke to the DCE. DCE says, well, you know, they didn't know anything about it. They were not involved in galamsey.
They were
so
sand winning.
why they were doing sand winning? So why was this task force even there? What were they coming to do? Because they were not coming to stop them.
They are the people now
from
protecting
sand
them.
winning, which is even illegal. By the
It's
way.
also illegal.
But you see, there was another operation this week, and Matikbebo, I'll come to you before, because of the communities and the DC's approach that Mr. Bento talks about, which was corroborated by both Andy Apiakobi and Engineer Dr. Kenashigbe. Cape 3 Point. There was another operation this week, Cape 3 Point, by the NIMOS team. We put that on the screen. I say this because Cape 3 Point, that area has quite a lot of cocoa farms. And this area is one of the areas that has been impacted by galamsey. The cocoa farmers, actually, you see the cocoa trees there. Farmers selling, and in fact, some of these illegal miners taking over cocoa farms there. Cape 3 Point, these young men were arrested by the NIMOS team, the Cape 3 Points Forest Reserve. Several galamseyers destroying the forest there, mining equipment, and some drugs were also retrieved. These are the young men in there. And in fact, somebody has just sent a message that now they are being made to swear an oath of secrecy, not to disclose the owners and the kingpins. So the hope of arresting them as a way of tracing their owners, there's a challenge there as well. And is it even happening? Because we've arrested over 1,005 of them.
Tracking is easy.
But can they be used as a means to getting their kingpins?
No. Okay. Yes, Mr. Ocansey. To the extent that we have about 1,000 persons arrested, or the chances that some will spill the beans are very high. Yeah, the chances that some will spill the beans are very high.
But the boys don't know the chiefs, so they don't know the kingpins.
They only recruited two. So if they are recruited by middlemen, so if there's a hope that when you are arresting these young ones, they will lead you to the owner. You are yes, maybe
that's what
on a wild goose chase.
Yes, but I mean, let's attempt. Once we have those in, we try to interrogate. Some may be able to give useful information. You know, when you look at a company, somehow through the grapevine, ownership of a company trickles down. So when the underlings are together working, doing the galamsey, usually they will hear snipers of, oh, this place, this our business belongs to Simesi. Whatever it is worth, I'm sure the investigators will be able to be able to get something. It may not be all, but certainly there may be some information, because look, I can just look at it this way. How many people would like to go to a workplace that for 6 months, even 6 months is long, 1 month and over, you don't even know the owner, you've never heard this place belongs to somebody. No, it doesn't work like that. So what I'm saying is that there are chances that we may be able to get some information. Yes, we are talking about probabilities, because it's also impossible to say that we will get nothing from any of those underlings. It's impossible to say so, that we will get nothing whatsoever about the ownership of these galamsey pits, etc., from the underlings. So let the investigators go on. Now, what I don't see so far in the fight is that, so now that we do, as we come here, we talk every day, where are the main galamsey activities ongoing now? Have we been educated as a public that, okay, look, now this is the biggest hotspot. There are 200 galamseys in this part. No, as a society, the reason we must know is that if as a whole society we know, then we too can come on board to see what we can do to help government. Because right now, as we say, well, I don't know. If I were to hear that, look, maybe
DC knows where galamseys
yes, but I'm saying as a society, because
are they not reporting to a center?
But you know, like you're saying, we've all sat across this table. We're saying that there's a certain level of, you know, political. There's a problem, okay, with our politics, with our governance, right? So if you want the fight to, you know, go up a few notches high, you need to inform the whole society. Right. Look, sometimes law alone is not sufficient. So this one, I know earlier I'd seen it in Hillary Clinton's book. So today I went to take it, and then I eventually I found a page. Look, let's read something here. It says, page, so I'm talking about it takes a village. You know, it's an old African proverb that it takes a village to raise a child. Yeah. Of course, I believe Hillary took it from us. She's written a book and it's become popular. So at page 167, it says, people of faith belong to the larger village along with other citizens, the majority of whom share many but not all of their values. Our laws are designed to permit us to live in harmony even when we have differences over religion and political matters. But to achieve that harmony, more than law is required. But to achieve that harmony, more than law is required. Mutual tolerance and respect are also necessary, and so on and so forth. You say, there are other quotations. She talks about having been influenced by the teachings of Martin Luther King. She went to attend speeches that, yes, so Kofi, at a point, you made a point that, yes, it's about the projection of political power. But along the line, you also consider that the problem is bigger than our political leaders. It's also about the whole fabric of our society. Look, everything we've all said, it all comes down to this, that our value systems have broken down. The value systems have broken down because you mentioned chiefs, you mentioned DCs, you mentioned the politicians, etc. That is what this whole thing is about. That the value system is broken down, right? Of course, and we've known that for decades because look, when you read the books, 40 years ago it was said that our values are gone. 30 years ago, our values are gone. In the 90s, Sika Sunsun, I think, was it Felix, were you the one who referred to that movie also, or somebody else? Sika Sunsun, the Ghanaian movie that they were talking about, gold, etc. I think somebody referred to it. So what I'm saying is that we've been playing ostrich over all these decades, that look, we no longer have much strong social values. It's about get rich quick or die trying. Yeah, get rich quick or die trying. Because this Galam says, don't they take the money to church? Don't the pastors
So how do we solve it?
So that's why I said the information that the people at the top have, they need to disseminate it down. So that that's why I said, as we said today, last week when we came here, I extolled government for taking over the 9 forests, right? 2 were taken back by the Galamseys, then they went back to retrieve those 2, recover the 2. Then I also extolled government that, especially when it comes to Etiwa Forest, the fact that Akufo-Addo wanted to mine Etiwa Forest, we had been fighting him in court for how many years? We are not yet done. Yet this new administration came in and they said there will be no mining in any forest, which we applaud, etc. Right? So the point is that, having said all of this, if we want the fight to proceed more, we should be more scientific. So as we sit here today, where are the hot spots? As a society, we don't know.
We know.
So if we, no, I mean collectively, do you know? Then put it out. Because you remember even Otunfo, during the
I'm saying in every region except Volta and parts of Accra, the hot spots are in the middle belt.
So where specific? Because
around Ashanti, around Eastern, around Western.
No, today.
Okay. If you want me to make, if you want that grand line for me, it is there. Ask him.
That is what we want as a society.
And then you do what we did as your society.
Then we can charge government that we
can charge government now. Who doesn't know Galamsey?
If you don't know the specific site,
hold on. Specific site.
But we don't know.
But you are not the person going to go to the bush.
But
yes.
I can fight. I can fight better when I know that this specific place, they say there are 200 people. Then TV3 will say we are driving there.
So are you saying that with the NIMOS and all, they don't know where this is happening? They move on intelligence. That's why they're able to go to a particular location to clamp down on the illegal.
So as they know and we don't, that's what I'm saying. The problem, you see, we are talking high decibels. NIMOS is doing something, but it appears we're saying that some say it's nothing. I'm saying, so where are the hotspots? Then we know that, look, if let's say there are 20 hotspots, do we know that NIMOS is in all? If NIMOS is not in all, then we can pinpoint that, NIMOS, there are 20, you are in 9. These are the remaining 11. So there is data. We lack a lot of data as a citizenry. Okay? The society lacks the data to be able to help in the fight. Not even Kenashibe knows. I'm sure if he knew that
says they know everything.
But they've not shared with you. So you see that
very small.
But there are dark areas. So if they say they know, but you and I, do we? So that if we knew, then we could help the fight because we want to go and assess that, 20 hotspots, we've been here, there. We've seen NIMOS here. So right now, as we sit, we don't know how many NIMOS is.
So Council, how about this? That what we've seen now is that when the NIMOS moves into an area, they then report. At least Phyllis Kwachofosu has been doing that the whole of last week. The 3 operations that NIMOS did.
Hotspots. 21.
Yes.
And so are they in the 21?
When they move to do an operation, afterwards the information is put out. Putting out the information before the operation obviously would jeopardize the essence of the operation. So what kind of the dissemination of the information do you want to see? Is it after they have done it, which is going on now?
Yeah.
Or what else?
Or they can do some ahead. You see, when you say jeopardize,
they should let us know ahead of time.
Yes. Do you know what happens? Even so if they knew, why won't you come? Some of the areas come and blast them on air. The people would flee. Look, listen. Let's be very
Give me
clear.
1 minute.
We cannot.
The major hotspots in Ghana are Takwa in Suaim District, Amenfi East District, Christian Honi Valley District. Notable towns and areas: Wasa Dadieso, Wasa Japa, Akrokri, near Obuasi, Diaso, Huniso or near Takwa. Major regions affected: Western region, Ashanti region, Eastern region, Western North region. Do you want more?
It's sufficient. So good. Now let's go there. We're saying the specifics. So now what we are looking at is that as CSOs, Imani, we will say, look, okay, Imani will say, look, I have funding to go inspect 3 areas, right? So that we'll be monitoring. Because if we have this information, even when you sit on air and say it, please don't worry about some of the galamsees fleeing. If they flee, at least the bleeding stops. Listen, we've arrested over 1,000. You know how much time it takes to prosecute those people? Yes. So some of them necessarily have to flee. If they fled and left our forest, we'll be happy for it. You can't prosecute all the underlings. Confiscation. We've not finished the oral matters. Okay, so putting out the information up to date. That look, 9 months, we are aware of 21 specific hotspots, but we see you are in 10. These remaining ones you are not. Then TV3, we are here blasting. So if you say Takwa is which part specific, those areas are big. I grew up partly in Takwa. Okay, so it's a vast area. I'm looking at which specific. So you see why I say specific areas.
Oh, right.
Then
it is known.
No, okay. We are talking about improving the fight because we're saying that the basis for it is that you said that look, chiefs are complicit. You said DCs are complicit, etc. Why don't we zero in? So when you say DCs, if by now, if we identify 6 districts and we know that okay. And who said DCs should be fired?
I'll give it to you.
Yeah, so let's go granular. Let's go granular. So that if a DC had his name today, you think he would want to sit?
They just told you driving by the roadside, you will see the galamsey.
So that goes to that proposal I was making about who the DC is being held responsible.
Yes.
I think you said.
Yes. So until you name and shame them here, then others will join you. So you see, so we need more data because right now it appears we're just increasing the decibels, but we don't quite know exactly what's on the ground. Just increasing the decibels. And of course, the churches too have taken a bit of a backseat. I think they need to come up again. Yeah, the churches, especially the Catholic Bishops' Conference, our people need to come. It cannot be one meeting with the president every 3 months. No, Sunday to Sunday. So let's say.
But the Bishops' Conference, they don't say we because they've charged all the priests. Yes. Currently, they are using their pulpits to do that. So
yeah, but sometimes we have to do more, maybe more demonstrations.
So my only problem with you is you are asking everybody else to do the work except the one who has to do the work.
Oh,
the projection of state power is what is needed.
No. Okay, good. That is hold on. Excellent.
Yes,
so you've heard it. So you see that you've made the same point. We are talking too much. Meanwhile, we don't know exactly where and where. If we knew, instead of coming here, maybe next Saturday, maybe we'll take the cameras to, let's say, if our boss, let's say at least that's where I grew up.
Hold on. All right.
So let's say if you knew that, look, Abosu, just as an example, I haven't been to Abosu for some years now, just as an example, but those days in secondary school, we did a bit of galamsey, okay?
Hey.
So, yeah. I don't know.
I self-confess.
Those days.
What do people don't know? I am Martin's lawyer. You have a right to remain silent. Don't say anything anymore. No. Don't say anything anymore.
That's the problem. It's because we are playing so I can say, I'm done a bit of galamsey. Yeah, for about 3 months. No, let's say that's before entering how many
your lawyer says don't implicate yourself.
No. It's good to implicate. If you say the truth, if you keep playing Austrian. I grew up a bit in Kapa.
Okay.
We're going to galamsey. So I'm wrapping up. Let's wrap up. So you see, it's this thing about double speak. Our double standards, like we're saying, the politicians know where the galamsees are. Some of them are partakers, but yet they will come and sit on air and pretend, etc. That's why it's killing us. So if I'm saying the truth, that some years ago, decades, it's over 20 years, right? So about 20
every
years.
truth must be spoken.
No, sometimes you have to.
I agree.
So that at least I know that I have some experience. Oh yes, let them come. It's a lot more difficult. So let's see how we can help government, right? But I'm not saying government is free, but if citizens had as much data as government, then we can point. So the specific one. Now we are saying that NIMOS is doing. The simple point is that how many hotspots is NIMOS operating from now? We don't know. So if we knew that NIMOS is in 10, then we say, what about the remaining 10? These ones. Then the people in the communities will also get up and go. Because, you know, there are certain persons in some communities, they don't know that the Galamsey is happening in a forest maybe 3 kilometers from them. We don't have enough information.
Okay, thank you. You said we need to know all of that.
Yes.
Okay.
So that we can push.
Well,
because... All right.
Well, let's see if that's going to be a strategy that government would consider. I want to do this very quickly. The CEO of Gold Board. No, he hasn't spoken on this. No, the CEO of Gold Board, Sami Jemfe, is on the telephone right now. There was a particular statement which was made, which I in fact queried and asked questions of. The specific. Yes, he's on the telephone. Right now. Mr. Jeffrey, can you hear us? Hello?
I can hear you, Alfred.
Yes. There's a quick intervention that you're saying specific about where you are buying the gold from, Gold Board. Where are you buying the gold from?
Yeah, Alfred, thank you, and a very good morning to your esteemed panelists and your cherished viewers across the world. My attention has been drawn to a false statement that one of your panelists, specifically Mr. Kofi Bentil, has made about the sources of gold purchases of the Ghana Gold Board. I understand that he stated categorically that about 85% of small-scale miners in the country are Galamseyers, and therefore 85% of the gold being purchased by Gold Board by inference is coming from Galamseyers. I want to put on record that that statement is totally false. Mr. Bentil should not be allowed to get away with such falsehood on a very important platform such as Key Points on TV3. For the records, Gold Board is a creature of law. The Ghana Gold Board was established under Act 1140 passed by Parliament in 2025. That law provides for how and where Gold Board must buy gold. And if you read it, you'll find out that Gold Board by law is mandated to only buy gold from licensed miners. We buy gold, and Mr. Kenashibe, who is the head of the Chamber of Mines, will attest to you that there are about 7 large-scale mining companies in Ghana that Gold Board currently buys 20% of their gold. I'm talking about large-scale mining companies. And we buy this gold to shore up our gold reserves. Number 2, when it comes to small-scale miners, the law requires the Gold Board to buy gold or the gold produced by licensed small-scale miners. Now, there are over 2,000 licensed small-scale miners in the country. And that is the primary source of all small-scale gold purchases of the Gold Board. So the Gold Board, by law and by policy, does not deal with illegal miners. We deal with licensed small-scale miners through the Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners and the Concerned Small-Scale Miners Association. Now, this is a novelty. This has never happened in the history of Ghana, because since Ghana started producing gold, there has not been any legal and institutional framework that ensures that gold is purchased from licensed miners. So hitherto, you have individual licensees of the PMMC and or the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources buying gold from everybody, irrespective of the source. Then came 2022, when Kofi Bentil's friend, his political mentor, Bawumia, introduced the gold for oil and gold for forex program. I didn't hear Kofi Bentil ask Bawumia and the Bank of Ghana then where they were buying gold from for their gold for oil and gold for forest program. When we decided as a government and as a nation to go into gold purchases, created that legal and institutional framework that mandates us to only buy from licensed miners. Now, to enforce this legal injunction, the president has directed us to do what is provided for under Section 31F of the Gold Board Law, which is to establish a full value chain track and trace system. And the process has started, and we have already given timelines that by first quarter of next year, we will have a track and trace system, which has never happened since Ghana became Ghana. And this system will allow us to trace every gram of gold produced in Ghana and purchased by the Gold Board to its origin mine. So Kofi Bentil lied on your show when he said that the Gold Board gets 85% of its gold from illegal miners. It is not true.
So
we get our gold from the over 2,000 licensed miners in Ghana.
Right.
Now,
when you make the point,
let me explain something to you, Alfred.
Quickly.
We, as a corporate entity, do not buy gold directly. We buy it from private licensees, like if it is in the Kuku area.
Right.
So it is possible that a private licensee of the Gold Board, licensed buying agent of the Gold Board, despite the legal requirements of them buying from only licensed small-scale miners, it is possible that you may get some of them breaching this legal provision. That is why we are introducing the track and trace system the president has been talking about, so that we can fish them out, we can segregate the gold, and we can ensure total compliance with this. So you shouldn't sit there and talk about things he doesn't know. Where did he get that figure 85% from?
Okay, so since you said your attention was drawn to it, a couple of things. I then would assume that you weren't watching at the time. When he made that statement, yes, I raised queries about that. But then you make a point about you don't buy gold directly from the miners, and that there is a possibility that the licensed gold buyers that you engage would breach the law that mandates that Gold Board buys the gold from only licensed small-scale miners. There's that possibility that they may have bought from illegal small-scale miners that you are not directly aware of and you are not directly engaging. So that's a challenge. So,
my brother, are you aware of any perfect system anywhere in the world? You cannot have a perfect system anywhere in the world. We are saying that, first of all, understand how gold is bought.
Yeah.
Gold is bought in buying offices in district capitals and regional capitals and various towns across the country. Gold is not bought from mining sites. Okay? So when an individual buyer is sitting in his office in Koforidua and somebody brings nuggets of gold or gold in the form of a powder, that individual Ghanaian may not have the technology to detect whether that seller is a licensed miner or not. And it is the responsibility of government to put in place the systems that will ensure that that buyer is able to trace the source of that gold. I am saying that Kofi Bentil's friends were in power for 8 years. They started gold purchases under gold for oil and gold for forest. They did not introduce any such system.
Okay.
We, in less than 9 months, are introducing that system that will allow these individual licensed buyers of the Gold Board buying gold for us to be able to detect the sources of the gold they buy.
So the traceability is what you are introducing.
Any objective person, Alfred, will comment. And you will not come and say they're throwing figures around.
So the traceability...
85% of small-scale miners are guaranteed. What is the source of that data?
So the traceability is what you are putting in place now to identify this and address the challenge.
Did we ever have a conversation about traceability when Kofi Bentil's mentor Bawumia was vice president and he was doing good for oil and good for forex? No, because they were buying gold without any proper institutional and legal framework. That is different from what is happening now under President Mahama. And he has given clear directives, and we are almost done with this track and trace system. But even in the absence of the track and trace system, go to our website. The terms and conditions of our license are clear. We don't buy gold from illegal miners, and we don't deal with illegal miners. We rather, at the time NIMOS was facing challenges with resources, we rather are giving financial and logistical support to NIMOS to go and fight illegal miners. Why will we do that? Can the kingdom divided among itself stand? And then you don't have any evidence, you don't have any data. You come and sit on national television and you throw a figure, which is a figment of your own imagination out there, that 85% of gold bought goods comes from illegal miners. You should stop that propaganda.
Right. So that, Sammy, it's the point that you make about the traceability is the next phase of the conversation in dealing with this challenge. That's what you have identified.
First of all,
as well.
I want Mr. Kenashigbe, who is a key partner of the gold board there, and who currently is working on that.
Is seated here. In fact,
hold on.
Yes, he corroborates the point that you are making.
On the development of model LBMA certified model mines and refinery and all that, to educate Kofi Bento that gold board buys large-scale mining gold.
Okay.
That's number one. Number two, gold board buys a small-scale gold by law from licensed small-scale miners. But we are not hypocrites. So we know that there are over 700 licensed buyers of the gold board who are scattered across the length and breadth of Ghana. Some of them may, at some points, be doing the wrong thing.
Okay.
And we want to be able to check them and make sure that they buy gold for us only from licensed miners.
All right.
That is why in record time, we are doing something which has never been done since the days of Gordonsville.
Okay.
And you think that we rather deserve criticism and not your friends, Bawumia and Akufo-Addo, who were in power for 8 years, doing gold for oil and gold for forex without any traceability system, without any law, without any legal or institutional framework.
Engineer Dr. Kenashigbe, you reference is seated here on the engagement of the large scale that's companies in doing
that's
so Sami, thank you very much.
And you see, I know that my brother and Minister for Government Communication is
there. So here,
and he will do justice
some of the issues that you have
to
raised.
the issue you are discussing. So I only came in to respond
make this
to the
intervention.
issue,
Okay.
the allegation about gold board buying 80% of his good from Galamsey.
Okay.
As for the issues about illegal mining, my good brother and Minister of Government Communication is there, and I know he will do justice.
Duly noted.
Yes.
Engineer, so just what kind of arrangement is just
so
a brief
again,
one?
So the some of the large scale miners sell their gold also to the gold board, and so the gold board itself, it's also again beyond the LBMA certification for the refinery that gold board is pushing. There's also the push for some responsible modeled mines that the gold board is also looking into, and there are some conversations that we are having to really be able to get that done. But again, as Sami himself accepted, because of the nature in the way they buy the gold, we need to work on the traceability quickly. We need to work on the issue of the traceability as quickly as possible. And I posit, sitting as an engineer, that another thing that we could be doing is that, everybody who, and I know that it's one of the things that the gold board itself is also wanting to do, because the whole issues around the AML, issues around is something that the gold board has been brought to their attention. Okay. To the extent that the gold board now would want to, I'm sure they're going to get to a point where their buyers would have to issue a gold board receipt, for the gold that has been. So there's some work that has to be done in there to ensure that the illicit gold does not come into the system. And for me, one of the things that the gold board has been able to do well is curb the smuggling. So if they also can help curb the illegal gold for also getting into the system, what will happen is that those people will not have demand. And so it would kill their business. And if you talk about really enforcement, one of the people that have done really enforcement in the area they are the gold board in terms of the smugglers. You see the way when they catch anybody, they hit them hard. If also the fight against Galamsey could emulate the way the gold board goes after the people, and look at them. They gold board, they are the people catching their kingpins. For gold board, you see that the people they catch are not the small people. they catch the big guy. So if the same thing they're doing, we could bring that also in tightening the noose. So I would pray, and again, Sami says that traceability is going to happen. It should happen tomorrow. If it happens quickly, you know what is going to happen. You will find out that a lot of those people who are in the bushes, they'll stop because who buy their gold anymore? So I think that is an important point that has to be made.
Okay. Alfred, I think it's only fair that I come in at this point. Quick one. It was useful that all the other panelists had their bites because then it crystallizes the issue, so you know exactly which one is responsible. You see, the first point is that there has been a narrative, which is quite worrying in recent times, that all the gains we've made in gold production and sale and the foreign exchange receipts thereof have come about because of an upsurge in Galamsey. You see, that narrative does not provide any credible evidence to back it. For the avoidance of doubt, there is no government policy to purchase gold from Galamsey. What it is that over the period, for the decades that we've mined gold, there has never been a system to trace where it comes from. But purchase from large-scale mining firms, represented by my friend Ken here, and small-scale mining firms are all lawful. Because small-scale mining is a lawful activity. Sometimes we speak as though it is coterminous with Galamsey. It is not. The state of Ghana made laws and allowed for small-time players to participate in the extraction of gold. And after it makes sense. We cannot have a situation where, invariably, because of the financial might and skill of external gold producers, they are the ones that dominate our markets. We cannot have a situation where Ghanaians are prevented or stopped from also participating. But of course, they must meet certain standards that does not impinge adversely on the environment and in the long run affect us. So the law allows for small-scale operators to operate. The state of Ghana cannot only purchase gold from large-scale producers because they also, as part of the agreement, are allowed to market their own gold. And therefore, there's nothing wrong with government buying gold from small-scale miners. Because we have not had a system to trace it, one cannot exactly tell if some elements within the illegal mining fraternity also find their way in there. It is for that reason that through law, a body has been put in place called Gold Board. I was in Parliament when we sat through the night to approve the Gold Board bill. And part of their mandate is to ensure that illicit gold does not get into what we export. In fact, it is in our own interest that the global community does not perceive us as selling gold that comes from illegal mines. Because mind you, and I'm sure Ken is aware, there are many watchdogs. In fact, only last week, about 2 days ago, I received correspondence from a group of foreign journalists who track these things and have sent us questionnaires to answer specific questions relating to the source of our gold and all that. Now, if we get negative publicity as to the source of our gold, the gains we are making in the international gold market will collapse precipitously. The LBMA has what they call the good delivery list. You must get onto that list to market your gold in a way that benefits you. So it is not in anybody's interest. It's not definitely in Ghana's interest or the government's interest to go and purchase gold from Galamsey. But these things are traced. There are all manner of sophisticated technologies that they can use to trace where the gold comes from. So I think that the blanket statements that are being made, that we are buying gold from Galamsey, and that is why we are having an increase or an upsurge in gold production and sales thereof, must be limited, and it must be based on absolute facts. The other issue too that I need to raise is that in all of this, political will is important. And Alfred, I can tell you with absolute certainty that President Mahama is intrepid in the fight against Galamsey. Indeed, both publicly and privately. He has told everybody in the NDC that as far as he's concerned, nobody is too big to fall in the NDC government or in the NDC party if they get involved in Galamsey.
I see.
And I repeat, he says nobody is too big to fall. It is the reason why very high-ranking officials in our party, our vice chairman and our organizer, these are powerful people within the scheme of things in the NDC. When the president heard about allegations or claims that they were involved in some activity relating to Galamsey, he ordered the Attorney General to commission an inquiry. That inquiry is ongoing. The Attorney General briefed all of us only last week's Friday, when we held the CSO engagement. That even beyond the initial claims that had been made against the two gentlemen, he has received further allegations and that he is broadening the scope. And I can assure you that once that investigation is completed, if it is found that in fact the allegations are true, action will be taken. Again, since 2022, we have known of the existence of the CID inquiry into the matter relating to Chebawuntumi. I know his lawyer is here. So, of course, he has the right to defend his client to the hilt, and he can assert his client's innocence we as a state must accept that, so that a lawful judicial process is used to determine. Like, so I'm not going to sit here and pronounce anybody guilty. But at least Ken and his colleagues in the CSO space and exactly,
in fact,
do know of the
out
existence.
of the 4 petitioners.
Do know of the existence of this CID inquiry, which has been there since 2022. And you know that when the Akunta mining issue came up, the president of the day publicly cleared wound to me. He said that
I asked him.
He said that as far as they were not engaged in any wrongdoing. Meanwhile, at the same time, the CID had compiled a report on the basis of the allegations that had been made. The current Attorney General has been bold enough to prepare a docket based on the CID's investigation, and it's from the basis upon which Mr. Wuntumi and 2 or 3 others have been charged only last week. There's talk about going after kingpins, but they don't come bigger than people within the political space. And so if a president comes to power and he has a will to launch inquiries into both persons in his party and persons outside of his party who are alleged, and I use the word advisedly, to be engaged in Galamsey, it is an indication that there's a departure from the past when the tendency was to defend the party's interests. So we also do know that Galamsey has existed for decades. When Martin mentioned his dalliance with Galamsey in his youthful days, it is only an indication that it's something that has existed. The scale on which it was being done was not necessarily harmful, so we didn't pay much attention. They were using precautions, and so these are desperate young people wanting to make a quick buck to fend for themselves, so they'll go and dig here and there. It wasn't a problem. But over time, some greedy, selfish, criminal elements found out it was a way that they could make quick money. And so they invested, recruited people, gave them sophisticated equipment. In the last 8 to 10 years, this has festered. There was not significant action or the mastering of political will to deal with it. We have the Frimpong Boateng report, for instance, in which a whole minister for the environment, who the president tasked with addressing Galamsey, says that there were government officials, there were party officials, there were high-ups in society who were involved in this operation. Even that report was concealed for many years until it was leaked towards the 2024 elections and it became an issue. Mr. Frimpong Boateng is heard on tape saying that elements within his political party had approached him, that Galamsey was a major source of financing for his party, and therefore they should be allowed to engage in Galamsey. We didn't see significant action being taken. Indeed, when we came to power, the situation was so dire, and I understand why there were heightened calls for a state of emergency in the run-up to the 2024 elections. Look, the situation was so dire that armed bandits, terrorists, and Kofi alluded to that, that if we get to a situation where these elements engage in Galamsey, resort to the use of arms as a way of fending off the state, then we are in trouble. In fact, we got to that situation just before the previous government left office. Because there were 9 forest reserves that were controlled by bandits and terrorists. We also do know that there are foreigners involved in this. Indeed, the NIMOS operation which you highlight, the one that arrested the Chinese nationals, that same day, they also stormed Esipon. There was a company that was engaged in mining, but NIMOS had suspicion that the operations necessarily were not in line with lawful procedure. So they questioned them. They found some Burkinabes. So NIMOS has actually given them a few days to produce whatever permits or licenses they have. Failure.
The Burkinabes, they do the cyanidation.
Yes.
They bring them
failure to do so is going to, in fact, NIMOS has actually seized the excavators, pending the production of relevant authorization to do so. But I was making the point that the situation that Kofi alluded to, we got there before this government came to power.
Interesting.
Now, those 9 forest reserves have been taken back. And you notice that when we did that, some elements tried to go back. Immediately, they were apprehended. So, again, an issue has been raised about whether or not the state is projecting power. Only last Tuesday.
No, before you go there, you see, Kofi makes a point about, for instance, if you are in the community, NIMOS, fine. But there are DCs and MCs who chair the security councils in the area. Why are you not holding them responsible?
I'll come to all of that. Alfred, the president who is willing to go after his vice chairman and his organizer and other big people in society has no fear dealing with MCs that he has appointed.
So those, where this is happening...
Listen, if evidence ever emerges of the complicity, what Kofi calls benign negligence, and active involvement of MCs, DCs, regional ministers, or any form of government official the president would act.
To the extent that this is happening, it takes 9 months to even go there.
No. You see,
so does that mean...
we must understand what is happening. We have spoken about the allure of good and how powerful it is and the monies involved.
Yeah.
Being human, it is not unusual for people to be compromised along the chain. So in fact, if you follow NIMOS carefully, the way that they operate so that there are many people on the ground where they operate who are unaware of their operations before they strike. In fact, there's a funny video that the head of NIMOS, Ken Abua, shared with me, where there was a gentleman engaging, or there was a group engaging illegal mining somewhere in the Upper West region. When he led the team to storm the place, the gentleman said, "Oh, Bamasa, at least inform me that you were coming." Whereupon he ordered the immediate demolition of all structures and the leveling of the sand that they are heaped to refine another. So it shows you that in the past, there were people who were leaking information to them on the operations of anti-galamsey task force. So now, NIMOS strikes, sometimes they don't involve people on the ground. Again, let me put it on record. I think it was Martin who made the inquiry.
Yes.
That we know everywhere that there is galamsey operations. In fact, I have seen the NIMOS operational documents. I'm not permitted for security reasons to disclose some things. The way they are operating, they have capacity to hit every point
at the same time.
Well, it doesn't even have to be at the same time. It doesn't necessarily need to be at the same time. No, it doesn't necessarily need to be at the same time. It just has to happen within a reasonable time frame. And they have the capacity and they've mapped it out and they will do it. Ken raised the issue of a timeline when the president met the CSOs. It is something that governments are aware of. I have a fair idea, and it's been discussed, as to when we will see very significant improvements in what we are doing. But you know that in this business, you need to hedge a bit sometimes, so that you don't overcommit yourself and create expectation that you are not able to meet and then generate further credibility crisis. But I can assure you that there are timelines. And the way that NIMOS is going, if they go that way, within reasonable time, we will have a handle on this thing. The other issue too is that, I was in cabinet only last Tuesday. 2 things happened. Approval and direct authorization was given by the president for the immediate procurement and distribution of vital logistics. When we said that we were going to convert the river body, the area along the rivers where galamsey is affecting us, into security zones and the forest reserves, every bit of that word was met.
Right.
So tents, sophisticated equipment, heavy weapons, everything is being procured as I speak to you to ensure that that is done. Number 2, the Attorney General slapped in the bill for the setting up of tribunals. One of the reasons why that is being canvassed is that the numbers involved will overwhelm the traditional court system. So we need other measures that are lawful, are in tandem with constitutional and lawful processes to address it. So in fact, one of the biggest reasons why we are doing the tribunals, where at community, district, and regional level, we can have adjudicating processes dealing with these people, is galamsey. Because for instance, the Attorney General spoke about 61 dockets involving about 600 people. It is going to overwhelm any judge.
Exactly.
In addition to all the cases of litigation that have been piling up for decades. So we need this step. But the most important point is that they must comply with the law. Because of the way that galamsey is insidious and the impact that it has, if you are not careful, you will call for extrajudicial measures. That's why we need to be careful. For instance, these boys that the NIMOS has arrested, there are some who perceive that perhaps on site you shoot everybody. We cannot have a situation where we have that kind of thing happen.
We said that here.
We have to operate within lawful boundaries, but it has to be punchy. And NIMOS, sometimes they are pretty harsh. It is not everything that we put out. Some of it is pretty graphic. And the measures, I'm telling you.
Put it out so that we can.
No, we don't want the abuse. We don't want the abuse. There's no abuse. But they use, in fact, they use what they call maximum force. And when the police say they are using maximum force, you know exactly what that means. Just so that they are able to subdue these operatives, in order that we are able to address it. Now, on the issue of dealing with excavators,
yes,
let me tell you that NIMOS is not operating. They are just not operating with brute force. They are not just throwing men into forest reserves and river bodies. They are using technology. They have drones. They have satellite imagery. They have AI. Today, if you went for an excavator from the port, even if you showed legitimate documentation that shows that it's going for construction or lawful mining, you are restricted in its use. You can use it only within a certain geographical location. In fact, NIMOS does not have to come to the ground to deal with you if you breach that. It can be immobilized at a command center in Accra. The moment you cross the line or the area, the boundary that you yourself said you were going to operate in, it triggers an alarm that automatically immobilizes your excavator.
I see.
If you go around Shire Hills, Esutare, Burma Camp, you see that all the excavators are under tight military scrutiny. You can't go there without express authorization. That is after you've provided sufficient documentation to show that this excavator is for lawful means. Number two, even now, in fact, going forward, you cannot even import an excavator if you don't prove that it is for purely lawful purposes. All of that is going to happen. So I can assure you that the political will more than exists. What perhaps has done us in is the lack of political will, the fear that we will offend big people in some time, even when we come here and speak about it, we get backlash from our own people. They say that, oh, but the people was doing it, they got money, so we should do it. That is one of the problems. But President Mama is not going to allow that. He has told us that don't pick a phone and call him to intervene because you've been arrested for engaging. He won't even pick if it relates to Galamsey, and that he is not going to come to your aid. He has also said that he is the one the back stops with. No amount of intervention. And indeed, people intervene, as you know, people, chiefs, opinion leaders, even priests sometimes intervene to get, excavators released to people. None of it is being countenanced by the president. So as for the president's commitment, it is beyond debate. It is beyond dispute. But the point that must also be made, as we've all admitted here, that there is not going to be an end to Galamsey without finding a way to address the issue of the allure of gold. So there are these boys and girls, young men and women, who think that rather than going to engage in some labor to make ends meet, they should risk it all and get gold to sell or get paid through the process of gold. So even if it means they are going to be gunned down or killed, they will still risk it. So what do you do such that you are able to meet these people halfway and dissuade them? Because the fewer people they are involved in Galamsey, the better for all of us. It makes even the fight much easier, much quicker. So that's why we had this the community, the responsible community mining, which cost us the lives of our dear friends. What it is that they are mining pits, some of which are disused. It is not profitable for the mining companies to continue to invest in them. So some engagement has gone on. Many of them are willing to release those mining pits. But it is lawful. There are areas where if you mine, it does not affect the environment in any way. And then through the expertise and technology of the mining companies themselves, they are able to ring-fence the place and prevent any form of environmental hazard from taking place. So you can actually move these gentlemen who are engaging in this very dangerous unlawful activity into areas where they can still mine gold, but lawfully, responsibly, and still have them make money. There are places where mining can be done. So you can declare it as a mining enclave because you have the means to police it, you have the means to monitor it, you have the technology to ensure that what they do does not impact the environment adversely. Now, all of these have been done because it is all well and good to use NIMOS and the military and the police to evict these criminals engaging. But if the allure still exists and you are not meeting it through lawful, innovative means, they are always going to attempt to go back. And NIMOS faces a lot of that. When they flash people out, they try to come back. They always go back. But the fundamental point, Alfred, is that no matter what the motivation is, crime can simply not be permitted. It is just like saying that you are so poor, so you engage in armed robbery. It is not acceptable.
But the flashing out, is it effective? Because as you indicated, you acknowledge the fact that when NIMOS goes, they flash out the illegal miners. When they leave, they try to come back. But then again, everyone in crime.
In fact, over 10,000 people, they were flashed out.
10,000 were flashed out. Last week, I checked with the Forestry Commission officer there. The miners have come back.
You see, I made this point some time ago, and then some persons in the opposition took it up and attempted to trace my words. You see, eternal vigilance. Human nature is prone to doing wrong things. It is the reason why society is organized around laws. And in order to enforce those laws, you put in coercive capacity for the state to enforce it. So there's never going to be a time where people will not be tempted to do wrong. For as long as there remains gold in the earth of Ghana, people will be tempted to go and mine illegally. So we as a state must have the capacity to go toe-to-toe with them permanently, eternally, until such time that we overcome them. So it is not surprising that they want to go back. What will be surprising is for the state not to be ready to deal with the issue of relapse. We should have that capacity, and that capacity is being built as I speak to you. So please, President Mama is committed. I can tell you that the commitment now is better than it was under the previous government. the governmental complicity we had at the time is no longer the case. If anybody, in fact, President Mahama has told us, and this one it is not for public show. He first said it publicly at the launch of the Code of Conduct for ministers. Before then, he had told all of us in cabinet that for as long as you remain a member of his government, you are not allowed to hold any interest in any lawful mining activity. So you can't even do lawful mining as his minister or DC or CEO or any other form of office holder, let alone illegal mining. And he will enforce it.
But are there measures in place to trace some, for instance, beneficial ownership?
Of course. I know that the FIC, in fact, there's some significant pressure from the British government and others to get FIC, and FIC is doing that. FIC, they deal with all manner of unexplained wealth. So even people engage in legitimate business, they monitor it. If they see some movement that raises eyebrows, so that capability exists, and it is being used. Sometimes you don't hear about it, but it's something that is being done. So, but the point, yes.
So that if a member of your government is benefiting,
yes,
and not directly
but
owning
for instance, this president has been in power for what, 8-9 months. Our vice chairperson, our national organizer, were key figures in the campaign that we waged. So you can say that they even helped President Mahama to come to power. But he has had no difficulty referring them to law enforcement agencies when allegations began to swell around them. And these are, if you understand how political parties operate, these are key figures. Yeah. They are not constituency chairman or branch chairman. These are powerful figures. They command huge following within our party. And yet the president has not had difficulty taking action to ascertain whether or not it is true they are engaged in this sort of activity. And he is willing to act if evidence comes to light, just as he's acted in the Wontumi case. It is not selective. I noticed that Dr. Ashigbe raised that issue. There's no selectivity, I can assure you. And I know that because of where I sit and the conversations that go on. So President Mahama means business. Galamsey is an insidious problem. It is a problem that is deep. Yeah. What was lacking in the past was political will and of course, the political will was lacking because of the consequence that the president or perhaps his handlers thought the party would suffer. Indeed, if you recall, after the 2020 elections, especially in the parliamentary elections where we produced a hung parliament, they attributed that to the fight against Galamsey.
Yes. In fact,
they went around saying that elements within the NDC had gone to promise Galamsey that they were allowed them. But again, that is a pathetic excuse. Yeah. There is nothing that the opposition can say today that should stop government from acting on the issue of Galamsey. So you can't say that because opposition elements went promising juicy office to Galamseyers, it immobilizes you. You cannot be immobilized. If you can deal with your own party, why can't you deal with the opposition? President Mahama has that capacity to deal with it. And as I've said, we have a fair idea of when we expect to see significant improvement. But it helps. No problem. But it helps to tarry. In due course, in very reasonable time, you will see that the outcomes are positive. And it is going to be a sustained campaign. As I've told you, logistics are going to NIMOS. They are doing a very good job. In fact, you may also not know that the way they operate, they even rotate their officials. Good. So they engage in constant training so that nobody stays too long somewhere and is amenable to compromise. Sometimes they strike without recourse to local security officials. And it's for good reason. So that people are not tipped off because they've compromised some officials along the value chain. So a lot is being done. And I'll be the first to admit, President Mahama is the first to admit, that a lot more needs to be done, especially regarding the riverine areas. The specter of having water purification facilities unable to function because of the level of contamination is worrying. I must indicate that this has been around for quite some time. It predates this government, but it's not an acceptable situation. And government is willing to do all that is required to ensure that we reverse this trend.
And in fact, it's important that you landed on that point, because yesterday we accompanied TUC to a number of these areas. Yes. The Birim River, that in fact the Ayensu feeds the Kwenyako headworks. Ayensu is polluted. That's what's led to the shutdown of the Kwenyako headworks, leading to over 30,000 residents who depend on that's water from that area, also having to look for other alternative sources. We have that Birim River video, the situation of the Birim River as we speak. And this is the headworks that has been shut down as a result of the pollution of the Birim River. and what has to be done now. You say within reasonable time,
yes,
we're going to see
what we have to
we're going to see some progress.
You see, one of the lessons in governance is that you see, you must command credibility in the eyes of the people. People must believe what you are doing.
Look at
sometimes you are not careful. Yeah, of course, this one is an emergency, so it should be dealt with today. That is being done. The point is that
the whole issue of Galamsey is an emergency.
Absolutely, absolutely. The point is that it is a deep problem. So in fashioning out the responses, you need to allow for sufficient, reasonable time to deal with it. Sometimes you can come under pressure, and it is the right of Ken and his colleagues in here, so to put pressure on government. And the president indeed welcomed it. It is something that puts us on our toes. But we in government, however, must operate on the basis of cold facts and evidence. What the reality is, what our capability is, and what we can do within the constraints of the resources and limitations that we have. That is what is happening. NIMOS, and I've told you that I've seen their operational plan. They actually have attached a time frame within which they expect to achieve this. All things being equal. It is our duty.
Disclose it.
So that, don't worry. I can assure you that they are receiving the support. There are concerns about you raise the expectation too high and it can come back.
But it helps. It's a motivating factor.
Because they have been. What has happened is this. So an assessment of the situation has been done. What did we objectively? What is the problem? What is this extent? What does it take? What does it require? So you were doing some things in the past. I recall that NIMOS has been active since May. Before NIMOS, there was some disparate efforts. The police had their team. They had a crack team of about 85 people. Creme de la creme within the police. They were pretty effective. But before long, we started receiving reports of extra lawful activity. There were allegations of extortion, allegations of compromise and all that. And it became problematic. There was also the team from the army. The Forestry Commission itself had people also doing some things. Now, if you don't coordinate that, the tendency is for you to work at cross purposes. And monitoring also becomes a problem. And so it was important to put all of them under an umbrella body that has the capacity to monitor, keep even those doing the enforcement in check so that you don't engage in excesses that can undermine the whole exercise. So all that has been done. But since then, they've been consistent. It is not everything they do that we show. They've been consistent. They've been super professional. Yeah, indeed, only 3 weeks ago, they did some retraining for their people. Hundreds of men have been roped. Yes, 400. Have been roped into. They've divided Ghana into a number of zones.
21.
Absolutely. And they have men who can move on the spur of the moment to any of these places. Their operations are intelligence-led. Before they go, they send a crack team of investigators ahead. They don't like to rely on local reports because those can be distorted, they can be compromised. They send a team of intelligence officials ahead who embed themselves within the community. And when they are moving, they don't even tell local people.
Okay.
So they go and do it, and you hear complaints about, oh, why didn't you inform us and all that. But what they look out for is the outcome. It is necessary to do that because of previous experiences. Okay. Ultimately, it is the outcome that will justify all the investment and the effort that we are making. But I think that it is legitimate that the public is anxious. It is legitimate that the public is worried. The president is as worried as anybody because it is not going to be during his tenure that we lose the fight against the land and cede territory, Ghanaian territory, to armed bandits and criminal elements.
I'm going to take an intervention from Mr. Bento. You see, because Engineer Ashibe says the president must be selfish when it comes to this fight because this is a legacy term. It's a legacy term.
It is not so for the president. For the president, it's not so much about a legacy that so when he leaves the scene, he's praised. That is not really what it's about. Look, every rational human being will be concerned about what is happening.
Yeah.
And when you are a leader, it is your call to act in times of crisis when there's a problem. So it's not really about his legacy or the lack of it. It is about doing what is right by the people of Ghana. The president is a human being first. He has children. He has grandchildren. Would he want a situation where his grandchildren can no longer access potable water because of the activities of this war? No. So he is motivated to act in the same way that all of us are motivated. Okay. The only difference is that he's the one that the back. The only difference is that he's the one that backstops. He's the one who you have given the power and mandate. In fact, there's talk of state of emergency. He's the only one who can declare it. For instance, but of course, it has to be considered on the basis of fact and all that, and that is
which
what
is waiting for that briefing.
Yes.
So there was a question about, and this coming from Dr. Chuama Santi, essentially about why these persons, if we go, NIMOS goes in, disperses or as it were, gets these people out of these illegal mining sites, arrest a few of them. They can't arrest the thousands, as we saw in Abrewa and Nikran. they would not have any deterrence not to go back. They have the confidence to still go back, despite the punitive nature of our laws. So where is the disconnect? Because the Minerals and Mining Act 2019 at 995 is quite clear on the punitive measures that illegal miners, when arrested, go through and if found guilty. We'll put that on the screen. A person who, without license granted by the minister, undertakes a mining operation contrary to a provision of this act. It goes on to say, point B, that acts or instigates, commands, counsels, procures, solicits, or in any manner purposely aids, facilitates, encourages, or promotes any act in contravention of a provision of this act in respect of which a penalty has not been specified. It goes on to point C, contracts a non-Ghanaian to provide mining support services, commits an offense, and is liable on summary conviction to a fine of not less than 10,000 penalty units and not more than 15,000 penalty units, and to a term of imprisonment of not less than 15 years and not more than 25 years imprisonment. That is supposed to deter people from engaging in illegal mining. So why is it not really doing so?
The short answer is that laws don't implement themselves. But look, before then, I think this section was started by the intervention of Mr. Sami Gyamfi, who was basically questioning some of the things that I said. I think I have a right of reply. In the first place, look, believe it or not, when I sit here, I'm not interested in the politics. We all are dealing with this matter, and we are failing as a country to deal with it. So I think it's regretful that Mr. Sami Gyamfi would go on the way he went on and start bringing in and Baumia and all those other things. It's not necessary at this point. The fact of the matter is that I said something, and what I said was based on research. The research was done from 2016 to 2020. There was a publication. The gentlemen who did it are Kumi Boateng and STEM and Bansa, and a number of them. And as part of that research, they made these statements, and I'm going to quote. In Ghana, ASM has become a significant contributor to the economy. ASM is artisanal and small-scale mining.
Okay.
Where they are contributor to the economy, mainly to local communities where they are predominantly practiced. The Minerals Commission of Ghana estimates that over 1 million Ghanaians are engaged in ASM operations, of which approximately 85% are illegal. This is Kumi Boateng, STEM, Bansa, 8 or 2020.
2016 to 2020.
Yeah, I could. Please, just for the sake of the public, you can simply Google what estimate of small-scale mining is illegal. Just Google what estimate of small-scale mining is illegal. I think you get some of these things. It has been quoted by the NDPC in their own report in 2021. So go there, the reference is there. The Ghana report has also quoted it. All right, it's been quoted in PhD thesis. Imani has used it. Our fellow Theo Achampo has used it in his publications. It's clear, it's there. We shouldn't argue about these facts. Okay. What we need to do is to solve the problem. Engineer Shigbe has talked about traceability. We know the problems with traceability. Okay, and so this is what is making the fight impossible. Everybody sees it as a territorial fight. And I've said here, look, I need President Mahama to succeed. And let me make this point just to clarify. The previous government was abysmal. Ken here and myself, we supported Nana Akufo-Addo. He put his presidency on the line. He failed woefully. We criticized him every day. All right? I think President Mahama shows a certain willingness to do the work. I am saying, I am not seeing the actual actions, like sack the DCEs who are doing these things.
Right.
So look, playing politics with this is exactly the problem. And I've sat here and said that it's a projection of political power that will solve it. So look, I regret that Sami would drag it into that political level, but the answer to my question, to the issue is that this is well researched, it is well known, has been quoted severally by governments and other people. Everybody check it and you see where my sources are from. So that has been answered. Again, maybe the most successful group that dealt with Galamsey was the Vanguard Operation Vanguard. And I was pained because after their success, they were withdrawn. My theory is that
close to the election.
Yes, my theory is that they were withdrawn because of the politics and because some of the powerful people who were involved, okay, got them out, using these political influences. Now, the next indication or the next group that shows the indication that they are likely to succeed like the Vanguard Group. It's the NIMOS Group. But look, it's early days yet. So I am happy to hear the successes NIMOS is chalking. But we've seen it before. They start well, and very soon it just ebbs and goes down and is dead. So look, I don't think President Mahama can solve it in 4 years. It's in 30 years plus coming. Okay, but I keep repeating, he can disrupt the system so much that it will be difficult to restore it. And then whoever comes next can continue from there. The way we will not solve this is to politicize every statement that is made, even when it is researched and clear and out there. And if nobody knew, I sit here, I'm not in government or anywhere. You should know this. You should know this. So look, I think there's a general agreement around this table about the problem. Not knowing or refusing to acknowledge or pretending you don't know or attacking people who speak the truth about these things and then put political, all kinds of things. I mean, it really poisons this space. So look, I think my point is made. All right. Now, this law that you are talking about, that's another matter for me. Okay. We have enough laws. And by the way, on this matter, I agree with the establishment of the tribunals. When we sat down to appreciate what it would take to deal with it, Martin makes a point about how many people you would have to arrest. Okay? They should pick up the Esipon Stadium, put it there, put the people there. We need special laws to deal with Galamsey. Yes. Okay? And we have enough laws, one. But when it comes to criminal proceeding and other things, too slow. Okay? There are some hitches in that thing. And when that happens, that's why in the US they made the RICO laws. Okay, you need specific laws. We have special laws for all kinds of different things in this country. True. So we need special laws when it comes to rounding them up, when it comes to bail. The tribunal system can help to deal with some of these things, okay? And when you have all these laws, they are not being implemented. The laws are being observed in breach. Okay, and it is simply also because of the use of political influence to bypass them. We had the previous government say, we'll just deport the Chinese. All kinds of atrocious things have been done, ignoring our law on this matter. So as for the laws, they are there. Right. We think that we need some tweaking of those laws so that we can get a firm hand on the Galamsey problem. But it all takes the same projection of political power. These laws will be passed by government. They will be implemented, effected by government. What we can do is to voice out our support for these things. I don't like the idea of tribunals generally because of the history in this country. But if we are going to agree,
it will be interesting to know that the analysis that was presented to government, making a case for the establishment of a tribunal, acknowledges the excesses that created the bad press for the tribunal. Good. So that we are trying to sanitize.
So you see, this is where we can contribute. Okay. So the point I'm making, and I don't advise you, but we are adding them on this. I don't like the idea of tribunals because of what you're saying. It can easily be abused. Yes, of course. But in communicating it, you have to appreciate the fact that we are dealing with a certain problem which cannot be solved using the ordinary system.
And for the avoidance of doubt, the tribunal system is going to be put under the aegis of the judiciary.
So you see,
there's no room for abuse or anything.
Again, I don't advise your government. But what you've said now is what should come out in a certain.
No, when it comes to parliament, it will be debated openly.
The president has executive power to make sure about.
Please, let's move to. Let us end it.
So when it goes to parliament, all of this will be discussed.
So I agree with setting up special legal systems, courts and laws to deal with this particular problem in a way that is effective. All right, and to that extent, please let us tone down on the politicization. And when anybody makes a statement that somebody does not like, you go and start shredding them. It doesn't help us.
Right.
Yes.
Yes,
I have right.
Yes.
But I got attracted to this program because of the topic of
illegal mining.
Illegal mining.
And you have been celebrated on this for your contribution.
I had to leave another platform discussing
for the
bail
greater
conditions to come here. And to be honest with you, we have seen a lot of talks. We have seen a lot of promises. We have seen a lot more efforts, but we have not been successful in the fight against Galamsey, and we have seen a lot of politics. Let's kick all these things out. I see an agency confronting us. We have something to do. I have made a suggestion of my small approach and how successful it was within my small community. I want to engage also with people who have done same in other areas. And I want to acknowledge my professor who just sent me a message on our approaches, and even suggested a Queen Mother who also used the same approach. I'm his student, so I will be careful. Professor Ali, yes, I'm his student already.
And he's right. Ultimately, this will be solved by the locals.
I have just had admission, so I'm his student. I will not go any further to contest. But I thank him very much for acknowledging the contributions we are making now. But again, the urgency of the situation.
Ali is always nice. Yes. I'm always ready to help everybody.
We have all acknowledged that we are in a very dire situation. The urgency of the situation requires special approaches to solving this problem. Yes. All that we have talked about haven't worked. We need to. That is why some people are suggesting that we do a state of emergency. That will relax some of the laws.
We've debunked it. We are not doing state of emergency.
Yes. Some people, no, wait a minute.
Yeah. No, it doesn't show any difference.
Okay. Listen to what I said. I'm saying that is why some people are suggesting that.
Yes.
And I don't support it. But we need a special approach, particularly on our rivers. And, in fact, in our forest areas. You remember I was here when we were talking about Achimota Forest and the attack on the forest itself. I was vehemently opposed to that.
1 minute. Gentlemen, please.
Sorry.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. Okay. So when it comes to survival issues, we need to all confront it because all of us are at risk. And the politics in Ghana undermines all our laws. That is why they don't work. I want to suggest that I would never be in politics when it comes to matters of survival like this. And let us make sure that our laws work. On the issues of the tribunals, because of the history, as my good friend Kofi is saying, nobody wants to hear the name tribunal. Okay. Please, we can create specialized courts, as we have done with the land courts. We can create them and let them work and let the legal regime be as it's acceptable and known, so that nobody sitting on a panel will think that I am so powerful, I want to do what I want to do. Let's go through. But again, it's important also for the legal system to also support this fight. If the court system doesn't support the fight, we may be fighting and be losing.
Right.
So let us all, society, the legal system, the police system, let us all, and again, let us also not forget our small strategy in fighting this menace within our small community.
Thank you. Omahe Kojasanti says, good morning. I want to join your colleagues and esteemed panel in congratulating Andy Apiakubi for his contribution in preventing illegal mining while he was MP. Unfortunately, I cannot say that for now. What is happening in the same constituency that he was a member of parliament of. In my view, I don't think he should still sit back. He is still a citizen of the constituency and must get involved in restoring what he left behind. It is not enough to be praised for what you did in the past. It is also important and relevant to be part of what has to be done. Sustaining your gains is key. Omahe, thank you very much for...
Yes. What changed?
What changed?
I think the more important point of it,
he will not be able to have any effect today simply because the politics change. It tells you the power of the politics in solving this problem.
And after the more important, no, he's a radio host in Kumasi.
Okay. Yeah. This one is the same. Not Omahe, you know.
Yes, there's another Omahe like that.
I
know the person.
Not the radio host.
Yes, he's a journalist.
Not the radio host.
This is a chief. You see, the more important question in relation to Honorable Apiakubi's contributions, you see, there are limitations to what he can do.
Yes.
As an individual, he acted as a community leader. That was it. He doesn't command an armed force.
Okay.
Especially in situations where these armed bandits are the ones carrying out the galamsey, or they hire people to offer them protection to do that. He will be limited. The last thing you want are clashes between locals and armed bandits. I mean, it can lead to chaos. So all you need is an organized system, structure that entails the involvement of law enforcement officials who are accredited to deal with such dangers. It is an example that can be, perhaps what we should be aiming at is behavioral change.
In any case, I have to read quite a number of the messages. Thank you. I'll read the messages and go for a break. We have seen actions like NIMOS is doing. We have seen the use of drones and other technologies, even to the point where we couldn't find the drones. The missing piece is the overall policy accountability. Where are those outcome indicators? Where is the data that would measure success? One that is transparency, you say. Thank you very much. Kwablavi says special prosecutor must invite, it says, some persons who have been also named in their fight against Galamsey. You say. This one also here says that what are the indices being used, monitored by government to either affirm case improvement or case worsening in the dilemma of declaring a state of emergency? It seems the talk is too much. You say thank you very much for your message. Abiola, thank you very much. This one here from Togbi, Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo. Good morning to you. He says much more can be done with regards to the government's efforts in tackling the Galamsey menace. In my opinion, the current measures are insufficient, and I don't believe in the coordinated efforts of NIMOS. It's time to solely consider the military alone to tackle and treat the Galamsey as a terrorist activity to restore order and discipline. Enough of the talk. There is a problem, and the problem must be solved. And only the armed forces can stop it. And it says, additionally, only people who are truly concerned about what is happening to the environment should give their opinion about what is happening, not other persons who are on. Let me
compromise. If he doesn't know, the armed forces went into
also, it is not only the military that can fight terrorism.
Let's
calm down. It is not only the military that can fight terrorism. The police can also help, or any other security agency can help. So
there's too much bigotry.
There's no problem.
So that's his proposal. Okay, thank you. Anthony Nukpenu says NIMOS operations now is largely in Western and Western North. Ashanti, Ahafo, Central, Eastern, there are no NIMOS operations. What the state needs now is resource and manpower. Galamsey fight is togetherness and collaboration. Thank you, Anthony Nukpenu. This one here from Richard Kumado says, because Galamsey has evolved into an international organized crime, if you want to catch up with the kingpins, it will be important for NIMOS to establish a simple, recognizable toll-free number, and he makes proposals and calls to the number is to be hitting the dashboard of Gold Board. I support Martin Pebu's call about we being carried along every step of the way. Thank you. And this one here from Parker Wilson says, Alfred, last 3 weeks I spent my weekend in Galamsey communities in the Echimam-Ponia district, Yeneyini. I visited about 10 mining communities. Headmasters, teachers, pupils, youth, Odikro, assemblymen, and church elders are all involved in Galamsey. The problem is bigger than we think about it. He says what? So, Mr. Bento, that proposal I make about the locals also getting involved in the fight. My a colleague journalist, Parker Wilson, says headmasters, teachers, pupils, youth, Odikro, assemblymen, church elders are all involved in Galamsey. So that goes to the point you make about the locals now rather being the ones preventing
and they are getting militarized.
Yes.
It's very dangerous.
No, it's not that they are getting. They are militarized. I repeated, at a point, Ghanaian territory, 9 forest reserves, was under the control of bandits. The state did not have access into it.
Yeah, that is what I'm saying. Normal laws won't take care of the
recovered those what they call
okay.
Normal laws won't take care of the matter.
Thank you. And then also let me remind you about the UJL Premier Fresh Natural Mineral Water. It is natural in the real sense of the word when we say it. It is not just for the sake of it. It comes in 3 main forms, and we're talking about the bottled and then also the one that you would have in the dispensers. You locate them. Their depot can be located on the University of Ghana campus, the Liman Hall. Call them on 0561 814444. 0561 814444, 055 060 150, 055 060 150. This is sourced directly from the source of this water that we're drinking, and can tell you for a fact that if you go call these numbers, tell them that you heard me talk about it on Key Point, to give you a special package. That's the UGL Premier Fresh Natural Mineral Water. It's one that also helps in preserving your health. Let's celebrate this upcoming Christmas, and indeed even before that, like never before. Book 2 nights and get the 3rd night for free, and all meals inclusive, starting from 4,500 cedis for a couple. Package offers guests free welcome drinks, access to all in-house facilities, as a swimming pool, gym, cinema with popcorn, and many others. Live band, brass band, DJ performances. You also enjoy free airport pickup from Takoradi on weekends. And this is from the Maha Beach Resort. Just for those who are watching on Key Point, this is your early bird discount. Book and pay before the 31st of October and enjoy 20% extra discount before the 31st of November. If you book, you will enjoy 10%. So early bird, you do that now, you get 20%, and you go and enjoy yourself on our account here on Key Point at Maha Beach Resort. Call them on this number, 054 012 4114, 054 012 4114, or you can send them a WhatsApp, 050 157 0684, 050 157 0684. That is Maha Beach Resort. And we're going to go for a quick break. When we're back, we're getting to the other issues. Alfred Apia, the data scientist, is still with me on Zoom to have his take on this particular issue that we are ending on. But as always, I'm clothed this morning by Kogra Clothing. Is the best version of you. The outfits you see me wear every Saturday here on the Key Point is by Kogra Clothing. Locate them on the Spintex Road, 18 Junction, opposite the Allied Oil Filling Station, ground floor, same building with the Ghana Made store. Call them on 0244 238 341, 0244 238 341. Choose Kogra, choose right. And on the matter of the Auditor General's report, the President says, you know what, if you start throwing people in Sawam, it will help in getting public officers entrusted with the state funds to do what is expected of them. We'll be back shortly after this quick break. We'll talk about that title to oral. Stay with us. We'll be back.
Reporting from the Takoradi Market Circle, from the heart of the Upper West Regional Capital.
From the heart of the Ashanti Kingdom.
Reporting from Sunyani.
From the Central Business District of Navrongo.
The parliamentarians are on recess.
This is where it all unfolds. The moments that potentially alters the course of our nation and the world. These are the individuals we recognize, the voices we amplify, who appears on screen and who contributes behind the scenes. With professionalism at our core, we bring you news you can trust, impact journalism that makes a difference. This illustrates how diverse perspectives enhance our strength and reinforces our mission. This is 3 News, leaders in breaking news, exclusive interviews, facts and analysis on TV, radio, online and digital. 3 News, first in news.
The stage is set for the grand finale. The finalists are shaping up for the big night. Join us this Sunday on Ghana's Most Beautiful Recap as our queens learn from fashion icon and guest judge Linda Ampa give back to society with past queens Yaba and Bassi and receive powerful mentorships from Janet Sumpwa Mills. Don't miss the GMB 2025 Recap Show this Sunday at 8 p.m. only on TV3. Keep voting for your favorite queen with the short code *713*13#. Tickets for the grand finale are available at the TV3 gate with just 100 Ghana cedis.
GMB shows Sundays at 8 p.m. on TV3.
Sponsored by
Gino Pomo Tomato Mix,
Pepsodent Charcoal and Lemon Infused Formula, and Pepsodent Natural Herbal Formula. Geisha Black Soup.
Kivo 4-in-1 Curry Mix. Kivo 100% Natural Hot Pepper.
Mentor, your ultimate music reality show, is back for season 14. Are you a talented musician with singles, EPs, or music videos on streaming platforms? This is your moment. Join our virtual audition. Submit your entry by scanning the QR code below. Deadline for entries is 15th October 2025.
This is Mentor, where dreams and stardom engage. If you rap, if you sing, this your time, take the stage.
Mentor 14, the world awaits you.
Brought to you by Fratelli Calipo.
And so I have a meeting on Thursday with the Chief Justice, the Attorney General, and others to find a final solution to this Auditor General's report, that persons who are found guilty of infractions or do not follow due procedure or lead to loss of public resources, we must have a fast-track process to Nsawam. Fast-track, before you see you are in Nsawam, 6 months. You know, until we do that, until there's a deterrent, we're going to come every year and they say total misappropriation and infractions of found out by the Auditor General is about 15 billion cedis. I mean, if we save 15 billion cedis, can you imagine what?
So that's the president there in that proposal on how to deal with the leakages captured in the Auditor General's report. But Alfred Appiah, who's a data scientist, just going to spend some few minutes to tell us why he thinks maybe the infractions or the irregularities captured may not be an effective basis for the president's call. Alfred, why is that?
Thanks again. I've been waiting, Alfred.
Indeed.
But before that, I just want to make a quick point about some of the earlier conversations. Mostly on the cocoa board issue, because I have significant interest there. And I mean, the conversation, it sounds like the consensus on the table from listening to the conversation was that cocoa board is administration heavy. There are issues of inefficiencies there, right? So what I struggle to understand then is that why is the government bringing back things like free fertilizer, cocoa board scholarship, when those were things, those quasi-fiscal things were what was contributing to the inefficiencies in the first place, right? And why wouldn't we go the route of rather paying the money directly and removing that, what you call middleman or whatever administrative burden, and then just pay the money directly to the farmers? So why is that not just getting reflected in the farm gate price? So I think from a policy standpoint, I just find that to be very incoherent, right? Especially because cocoa Cocoa Board is supposed to have a turnaround strategy. It's supposed to be phasing out all these quasi-fiscal activities.
Okay.
So that might be a question for the government, but I just wanted to make that point.
Perfect. Thank you.
On the issue of the irregularities, yeah. So I heard the president talked about the 15 billion, and I think over time when you read the Auditor General's report, right, one of the things that it's clear is that a lot of the irregularities, at least on the public corporation side of things, which is usually the big number that we talk about, a lot of it is also interagency debts, right? So, for example, when you look at 2024, right, of the 18.4 billion, 12.5 of that is basically money that ECG owes WePower.
Okay.
Right. Sometimes even with the cash as well, some of the cash is also money that ECG didn't pay to IPPs, and we can trace that. We know that some of that was because ECG was asked by the finance ministry to basically reserve some of the money to buy fuel, right? Okay. And those were so. Part of what I'm trying to say is that it's also important that we put it in context, right? When we are looking at the financial irregularities, I'm not saying that there's no. Of course, we all listen to the Public Accounts Committee, and there's things that happen, right? But in the grand scheme of things, right, I think that the more complex schemes of people stealing from the state don't show up in the Auditor General's report. I think the proxy of using the financial irregularities as a proxy of the level of corruption and waste doesn't do justice to it. And so when you look at this chart, for example, right, when you look at it over time, you see that a significant amount of, or a significant portion of the financial irregularities that are declared in the Auditor General report is outstanding debt. And as I explained it, like for example, 2024, the bulk of it was ECG's debt.
Right.
When you trace back, you would see that the breakdown was given, right? So when you look at the others, what is contributing to the big rise in the others in 2024 is the cash. And that's what I was explaining, that ECG was under declaring revenue to the cash waterfall. It wasn't paying some of the IPPs. Now, we can trace it. The procurement breaches that is happening and all of that. We can trace all of that. But I think it's important that we don't use the overall financial regularity as the proxy of the waste in the public service, because to me, it doesn't do justice, just because of these nuances that I'm trying to point out. So there's definitely more work that needs to happen to uncover some of the bigger schemes, right? The bigger schemes, and I say all this to say that I'm a big fan of oral. I am a big fan of oral, but I'm also always cognizant, in terms of some of the empirical estimations that happens with oral. For example, we had about $21 billion that could be recovered through oral. It is things like this, right? And some of these things that also contribute to that, because I don't think we are, I don't think the analysis is robust enough to get us to the extent of the waste.
I see. You see, Mr. Kwache, so this is a direct question to you. Why? You see, some of these figures are a reference to what oral can bring in, but that's what Alfred's point is, that, drill down the data, identify the complexities. It may not be as you think it is, that these monies have been lost, you have to recover.
Let me indicate that personally, I followed the Auditor General work over a long period, not this particular Auditor General per se, but the institution. When I first became politically active, I joined the CJA. If you recall, one of the things that we used to do was to highlight the findings of the Auditor General. In fact, we were the ones who unearthed corruption in the school feeding program, NHIS, and what have you. Over time, we came to realize that what the Auditor General does is that he quantifies the amounts involved in irregularity. So it may not be money that somebody has stolen. But if you violated the procurement law, they put the amount that is involved in the procurement out there as what the state could potentially lose if the laws are not respected. So those issues that are flagged are very important, because if you do not work on them to improve them, it gives rise to people's ability to steal, to siphon funds and what have you. So there's no problem, in my view, with the format that the Auditor General uses. They clarify it clearly. Nobody is going to take you to court for stealing 500,000 cedis if you have not stolen 500,000 cedis, simply because the Auditor General has said that procurement of this phone should have cost 500,000, but you didn't go through the Public Procurement Authority's processes. So we must understand that clearly. What the President is talking about is the waste and hemorrhage, the way that our laws are set aside, the way that they are violated, the way that nobody wants to respect the rules, the way that people cut corners. all of that gives rise to corruption. At the end of the day, people are able to steal because of the laxity in the system. Also, when specific findings are made regarding corruption and stealing, misappropriation, and any other form of illegal acquisition of public funds, the process appears to end at PAC. So people are called to PAC, they are drilled, sometimes they are embarrassed. Then the chairman of PAC gives directives as to what should happen, and nothing happens. So the president says, look, there's a certain bottleneck. There's an aspect that the judiciary has to take care of, which is that they have to set up special courts to address the outcomes of PAC sitting. But that has been lacking. And I'm sure the judiciary may have their own explanations for why that is not happening. So let all the relevant stakeholders meet. Me as president, who superintends the executive, that actually does the spending and whose officials are often involved in this sort of activity. The Auditor General, who does the research, does the analysis, and does the findings. And then the judiciary, that is supposed to set up the systems to adjudicate these matters. And then Parliament itself, that goes through the report to grill officials who are derelict and have not done the work as they should. Let us meet and find out what the problem is. Why is it that we cannot move a step beyond what PAC does? What does it take for this to happen? And how are we going to set up a system that punishes persons who steal or breach the laws and creates an atmosphere within which the state loses all this sort of money? So that is what is supposed to happen. The meeting is slated for 20th October. Indeed, it should have taken place last week. In fact, the Auditor General was actually in the president's office. But the president has had to go to China for an important meeting with the Chinese president. So he should be back before the end of next week. And once he comes, immediately the following week ensues. This meeting will be had. It is a meeting that the president is taking seriously. It's not going to be a mere talk shop. He expects that outcomes of that meeting will lead to an improvement in the process, such that we are able to seal all the loopholes that people exploit to enrich themselves at the expense of the Ghanaian taxpayer. Yes.
Yes, please.
My humble advice. I think the president's action signals executive intention to proceed beyond the talk shop at PAC, which is extremely good. But the president's action can also be dangerous. He's in a wing of the government, there are three. And it is not entirely useful to be seen to be pushing the judiciary to do this or that under the circumstance. So here's my simple or humble advice. You should have the meeting, but don't publicize it further. Don't publicize it further, because you see, already we have laws which are not being implemented. The reason why we have this problem is because our leaders have refused to do the right things. And some of them are complicit in some of these things. What we call losses and stealing and procurement, they are people's plans working well. And it is running along a certain circle. So trust me, people are protecting people, okay? Because even today, given the laws we have today, there's no excuse why what is happening should happen. You remember what Occupy Ghana did, all right? Went to court, and the rulings were clear. What happened? The politicians of the time in the past government hounded Domelovo out for doing his job. All right? We have a country where our leaders have gotten into a place where they identify people who are doing a good job and they persecute them. Where is Mr. Dampare now? Dr. Dampare now? Okay, he was hounded by the previous government for doing a good job, and in the new government, you said you don't have anything against him. But other people are saying, well, we can't control him. Okay, I'm making a general point. The general point is that we have enough laws and systems that can work if we have the right people who will make them work. So the president's signal is good, but he must not be seen, so to say, to be pushing the judiciary. Let me give you some ideas. Please take it to him. Today, there is enough law that when you have a public accounts committee hearing and the people themselves come there, and essentially what they come and do is confess to irregularities, stealing, and loss, etc. Martin is here. If I'm lying, he will tell you. Self-confession is a very credible trigger for further investigation. I lie?
Yeah. And often nothing happens beyond that confession.
That is the
point that the president seeks to address.
So hold on. Yes. Parliament has enough authority. In fact, you, me, anybody can write to Iyoko and say, we think A, B, C, and D. Iyoko will do a prima facie and see whether there's anything there. When you go to the statutory authority committee of Parliament and you go and confess that these irregularities have happened, the chairman of that committee, etc., has a responsibility, a duty to refer you for further investigation.
Okay.
Why not? 2, if he does not even refer you, IOCO, Economic and Organized Crimes, by seeing it, IOCO can suo motu by themselves come and investigate you. So if somebody has gone and publicly said we have this and that and that and that and that problem, okay, IOCO should be triggered automatically. What I think should be done is where we say there's a direct pipeline between Public Accounts Committee and IOCO. Every case, every confession, every issue, in fact, even suspicion. If you say something that we are not too sure, sometimes they tell them, go and bring back this information, we don't hear anything. Listen, IOCO has a duty to follow through to an end. Why? Why? Because some of the infractions, like I said, they are benign neglect. Some are complicity. Some actual crime.
Okay.
Sometimes money has been lost, but it can be recovered. Just give me a minute.
Thank you.
Sometimes too, in the process, money has not been lost, but crimes have been committed. That is where IOCO has to come in and isolate those things, and then we take it up from there. So let's create that pipeline between the Public Accounts Committee, then IOCO, and then Special Prosecutor or Attorney General.
Perfect. Matibebo, 1 minute on this.
1 minute.
Please,
Oh, yeah.
respectfully, please.
So I look at the front page of the Daily Graph. It says, misappropriation of public funds. President directs fast-track prosecutions, right? Yes, that's something that resonates with all of us because we all agree that a lot of the time the justice system is slow. Yes, we all uphold due process. I'm the same person saying that don't shoot galamsees at sight, right? So it tells you that I'm for due process. But the truth too is that a lot of technology and practices in the court are outdated, archaic. So our justice system is not actually fit for purpose. So I hope that through this, when they have the meeting, the Chief Justice will lay bare what we need to get a modern justice.
I don't understand why we still allow people to manually record court proceedings. When in fact, in most cases, there are actually automatic recording devices, and yet people are still allowed to, and it delays the process so much.
The rest of my time. Those are the things.
I just want to
We are lazy. We are lazy as a people. Sometimes we just don't want to do what has to happen to move the system forward.
Well, again, the issue around technology and all of that, and the interesting thing is that the technology is even improving. If you look at the work that's like University of Cape Coast and things have done on language using AI. You know, so now the issue of transcribing, you know, is really improving, and the data that we can get to be able to do that, it is just sometimes the fixation of
traditions and all that.
Tradition and all of that we're keeping. But you know, the thing that the Public Accounts Committee that's on the psyche of our people, we are not looking at it. Some of the crimes that are confessed virtually there, we're normalizing them. So I'm happy that this conversation is going to happen.
Yes.
I would also plead with the president that once he does that, he should also add to it how we can deal with the galamsey issues with the fast track court as well.
Thank you.
Bear in mind that the UK, when they had their routes, they were able to set up courts. 24 hours, they take you there. This is a liberal democracy. They take you there, and if you are found guilty, and that is how they were able to nip that in the bud.
Thank you very
much.
much.
So it's important that happens.
Thank you. Are you a salaried worker, an SME owner, or a trader in need of quick and reliable financial support? It's time to make your money work for you with Blue Loans. Blue Loans from Blue Financial Services Ghana Limited. You get fast, flexible, and affordable financing tailored to your needs. No long queues, no stress, just the support you deserve when you need it most. Call Blue Financial Services on 0303 968 196, 0303 968 196, or send them a WhatsApp directly on 050 160 9958, 050 160 9958. Blue Financial Services, trust in Blue. I want to say thank you so much for staying with us here on The Key Point. To you, Engineer Dr. Kanashbe, our condolences once again for the loss of your father, and also Martin Pebo, thank you so much, private legal practitioner. To you as well, Mr. Bento, appreciate you coming. Thank you so much, and I do appreciate you taking time off your work to the nation. Mr. Felix Kwachufos is a member of parliament as well for the Bukomakesime constituency and the minister in charge of government communications. Alfred Apia, a data analyst as well, joined us. Congratulations to all our colleagues and all the newly minted lawyers as well who were called to the bar yesterday. I received a special message as well from Frank Davis as well. Your daughter was called to the bar as well. Thank you. And you have a good and great weekend.